Break time battles. It's the thing that happens when we're on, what's that called again, Andrew?
I believe it's called a break, Rich.
Ah, nice. Here we go. SK's Roger Lopez against Canario. And, man, no matter what Canario does, he can't seem to escape a fight with SK Gaming.
Yeah, it's seriously. It seems like he thought maybe his season was done, but here we go. SK Roger Lopez, top of your screen, cycling that firecracker towards this Hunter. Hunter going to be accompanied with that Fisherman, though Ramrider going to come down the left-hand lane.
My guess is Ramrider gets a connection because that's what she does, but we'll see because the E-Wiz could be enough. Oh, a nice little bar barrel. Doesn't get the connection, though, and I am astounded.
Here we go. Royal Giant in. Fireball on top. Canario going to drop that nice little 20-win challenge BM after he gets a nice RG shot in.
Well, you better win after you drop the 20-win challenge emote.
Yeah.
It's like the #1 rule of Clash Royale. If you drop that emote and you lose, actually we get to take your emote away. Did you know that?
One of my favorite things is when you play a really, really close game against someone and then you realize you're going to lose and then they drop the 20-win emote and then it feels like they've just been toying with you the whole time.
Yeah, that's always quite rude. First minute, 15 away. And I'm going to guess that Roger Lopez has either a Mega Knight or a P.E.K.K.A somewhere in there, but given the current environment, Andrew, there could be E-Barbs.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. E-Barbs are strong. Either way, that Fisherman's really going to pay dividends here for Canario, so maybe we'll see if he starts to build a push in the back as we get close to double Elixir. Only thing he really has to worry about, right, is the Ramrider coming in, or maybe those E-Barbs, so as long as he's got that Fisherman locked and loaded, he's chilling.
Speaking of paying dividends, I just bought stock in a brand new company, and I'm excited to really. That joke's not going to play for this audience, but there you go. This is just this is what we do when nothing's happening and everyone's staring at each other for a long time.
I mean, I don't know, man. This audience, they really do love their stocks. I see a lot of posts from the CR audience about buying stocks. So here we go. Ramrider in. This time it does connect. Looking for that Fisherman up high with the bar barrel, but Canario doesn't bite, and there's that Mega Knight you were talking about.
Told ya, man, how did I know that a Ramrider would come with a Mega Knight and or a P.E.K.K.A? And I say and because, again, who knows what SK Roger Lopez could be doing.
Have to admit, I love that Canario went high with that Hunter there. You saw Roger Lopez bust out that prediction fireball looking for the Hunter on top of the Fisherman, but he went behind the Mega Knight. Pretty brilliant stuff.
And King Tower activation took that long, Canario against a Firecracker.
Come on.
Oh, man, I'm disappointed. I know, right? And here go the E-Barbs. And, man, this feels like 2018 all over again. E-Barbs Royal Giant.
Yeah, I was playing this deck this last weekend. It's pretty fun. It's really, really strong. And obviously the E-Barbs provide a ton of offensive presence as well as defensive utility if you need, because they can just cut through anything that your opponent sends across the bridge.
Magic Archer picked up high by the Electro Wizard. In case you were curious, that's what the E in E-Wiz stands for. It's Electro, in case you guys weren't following along for a long time.
Yeah, only 9 weeks late, but hey, people were just very confused for a very long time.
Splitting the E, the Electro Barbarians, because E always stands for the same thing in this game. One to the left, one to the right, and Inferno Dragon high. What's Roger Lopez's plan here? Is he going to go Ramrider under the Inferno?
I don't think so. I think he's just going to go, he's going to go left-hand side because he's got the Magic Archer there. I think Canario is going to have a lot to deal with on this left-hand side. He's going to go high with the E-Wiz, but that Magic Archer's on the tower. Trouble.
Fireball. Oh, boy.
Canario.
My word. SK Roger Lopez adds to the pain of this season with a huge Game 1 win in our break time battles. Andrew, I can't wait till next break.
Let's do it.
Bola de fogo da ponta do recado.
Get the rest of the defense off. Oh my word!
Perfeita.
Four in a row for Team Queso.
8 weeks of gameplay, high stress, high octane, hard work, and now we start the playoffs with what might be the most important, the most stressful day of all. Sure, the CRL Western Championship is ahead of everybody, but today's the day where 4 teams decide whether or not their season ends right here or they get a shot at the big prize, World Finals this December in Shanghai, China. Hello and welcome. I'm Rich Slayton, joining me as always, my friend Andrew Guy, to bring you the Clash Royale League Western Fall 2020 playoffs. And today we have 4 teams who fought very, very hard, tooth and nail, to claw into this moment, Andrew, but only 2 will walk away with anything that really means something at the end.
Yeah, what a crazy season we've had. As you said, 8 weeks of match play in the books, and I hope that you guys have been joining us on YouTube or on Twitch. Make sure you're subbed up, make sure you're following, and make sure those notifications are turned on. That way you don't miss a second of match play. It's going to be absolutely crazy as we get through the next 3 days. As Rich said, we're going to see who goes to finals today, but we're also going to see tomorrow who takes home the better part of that $250,000 cash prize, which is massive here in the West. Speaking of massive, how you doing with those crowns? You got over 100? Do you have over 120? Fantasy Royale. Did you get your lineup set? Did daylight savings time mess you up like my good friend Rich on the other side of the screen here? Got to get those lineups set. If you're in the West Coast, your Pacific time, it's got to be by 9 a.m. Pick the 4 players that can get the most crowns throughout the week to take home that massive prize of 250,000 gold and 100 gems. Last up, break time battles. You saw the first match there where SK Roger Lopez took Canario down in game 1. We'll be seeing the rest of that BO3 throughout today's match day, but check out statsroyale.com if you want to join in on the break time battles, maybe next season, because we've got our last match in the books. You'll see our leaderboard here in just a moment, but he will be going up against against Canario once again from Team Liquid. Let's take a look at our leaderboards.
Break time battles, been a lot of fun. We've seen some upsets here and there throughout the run, Andrew, and take a look at that. TA by Fernando as our number 1 this time around, so we'll be seeing him here in the break time battles very, very soon. And this has been a really cool feature this time around, Andrew.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, you can see there Fernando coming back around. He was one of our break time battle winners earlier in the season, but it's been a really cool way to have players out there show support for their teams and have something. Feels like they're fighting for something every single week as opposed to just climbing that ladder board. Just getting on this leaderboard means you get to see your name on the show. Top 5 gets swag. Number 1, of course, gets to play against a pro here at CRL. Speaking of CRL, guess what? We're into our brand new playoff format, or I guess new if you've been following along for the last 8 weeks. We were in BO3 for a very long time. Now we're back to BO5 because we're in playoffs. I love this format, but Rich, it does come with some rules. You know, you got to abide by the rules if you want to play in a BO5.
Yeah, we start off with the 2v2 set, and then we have 2 1v1s, and then a third 1v1 best of 3 if necessary, and that 5th set, if we get there, is King of the Hill. In those first 4 sets, you can only play 2 of them. You can't go back-to-back, but all bets are off. King of the Hill, anyone can come out, and that's going to make it very exciting if we ever do get there today.
Yeah, so here we go. Let's take a look at our bracket. You see there, Space Station Gaming and Team Queso. We saw Space Station fall to Team Queso, puts them in 3rd place, Space Station in 4th. 4th will go up against 5th in Pain Gaming, our first matchup of the day. It's going to be an incredible battle between 2 of the best 2v2 squads out there. But then on the second half of our day, between Team Queso and Cream Royale Betis, Rich, it feels a little bit more like head-to-head play is going to come in to factor the winner of that set.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Of course, we'll break down each one of those pieces in detail, but that head-to-head play, the question, of course, will be, can Ruben carry his squad on to the semis where they would face Tribe Gaming? On the other side, of course, our regular season leader, SK Gaming, but that's for tomorrow. For today, who do you think's going to win? And here are the predictions most of the way across the board. 4 of us picking Space Station Gaming along with you on Twitter. Pain Gaming, of course, being picked by both our Brazilian casters.
Yeah, no surprise there with Pain Gaming. The big surprise here for me is everyone picking Team Queso, except for myself, the only person picking Cream Royale Betis, and it's going to be very curious. I mean, I think you put it in great words before the show. You were saying it wouldn't be surprising if Team Queso's Kuchi and Benny accidentally even picked up that 2v2 set. They are good enough to do it. They've been playing together for so long. I'm really, really excited to get into the second match, but first up, Space Station Gaming, Pain Gaming. This is going to be crazy. This was the very first match of their season. It was different 2v2s all the way across the board. It's changed dramatically since then.
Yeah, I mean, the first time these two squads met, it was pretty much the RF show. Came out and blew out the 2-1 in the 2v2, and then went with a King of the Hill sweep. But this is a different Pain Gaming, Andrew. Now you have Lucas as the 2v2 leader, 10-1 in games with his partner Wallace. This should be a banger. Let's get into our first playoff match of this fall. Spacestation Gaming against Pain.
Spacestation contra PEN, dois times que têm brasileiros, os dois times vêm de derrota. Bom, a PEN perdeu também, mas a PEN vem de um crescimento absurdo, de uma força de vontade, uma volta por cima aí e conseguindo a classificação numa ótima qualificação e conseguindo aí passar para os playoffs. Acho que por conta deste motivo eu daria aí uma leve vantagem pro time da PEN.
PEN Gaming contra Spacestation, os únicos times com brasileiros na Clash Royale League. Vamos ver quem vai avançar agora nas playoffs e garantir sua vaga no Mundial.
Tenemos con nosotros los cuartos de finales, pero para mí esto es mucho más que un cuarto de final, esto es una final. El ganador tiene su pase a Worlds, que eso es lo que cuenta, esa va a ser la verdad. No sabemos lo que va a pasar acá, creo que esto se va a terminar definiendo en el rey de la pista y nos vamos a ir a 5 sets. Quédense con nosotros para disfrutar de este gran partidazo.
SSG contra Pain, el partido importantísimo porque Pain, el que venía desde abajo, el que parecía que no podía clasificar, en contra de SSG, uno que por momentos parecía que iba a ser el gran puntero. Lo importante del partido, el ganador pasa a los Worlds, partido decisivo.
Here we go. It's playoff time in CRL West. We're on our way to World Finals. And how do we feel about Pain Gaming versus Spacestation Gaming? Well, let me tell you, I think Spacestation Gaming got in the absolute best position they could be in. Yes, Pain Gaming has one of the best 2v2 squads out there. They need to start off strong there and then set the tone for the rest of the match against Space Station.
In their regular season meeting, Spacestation Gaming absolutely dominated Pain in a 5-1, murdering, including a King of the Hill sweep by the God RF. But that was a different Pain Gaming with a lot more nerves and a completely different 2v2 squad. The big question now is, can a Wallace and Lucas 2v2 duo start things off with a bang against AC and RF? Two very different rows to get to this opportunity at the World Finals for Spacestation Gaming. It was never in doubt they'd be in this position. Pain lost a lot up front, but ever since then, Andrew, they have been on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Coming out for Space Station Gaming. First time they met up, it was RF and Lapacati taking that 2v2 set. Today it's going to be the God RF and Awcraft without a doubt. Samuel and Lapa will be playing in those 1v1 sets, and of course, King of the Hill. But that is Space Station Gaming, our fourth place squad coming into today. On the other side of it, Pain Gaming with a sacrifice victory early on, still clinching playoffs.
Yeah, such a rocky road for this squad, but it all turned around once they made the all-important shift, moved Lucas into the 2v2 alongside Wallace. Since then, they have not lost a set. Sweep has come through big in King of the Hill with a sweep of his own, and Vitor has been the 1v1 star. Of course, got to spread that wealth around a little bit today with the best of 5 format. We'll see how the rookies fare against the defending Western champions.
It is astounding when you talk about what Lucas and Wallace have done, going 10-1 since they've gotten together in that 2v2. You see that they're going to be taking Fisherman out of play today. On the other side of it, AC and RF getting rid of that big-time giant skeleton bomb. Most pros out there right now are saying that Wallace and Lucas are the premier 2v2 duo. I'm sure AC, RF, Sam, and Morton will have something to say about that, but right now this is going to be one of the best first sets we're going to see.
Let's go ahead, jump on into it. AC and RF for Space Station, bottom of your screen, Wallace and Lucas at the top. And Andrew, one of the big questions being asked about this duo when they started this run was, yes, they're doing a great job, but who have they beat, right? They took out Liquid, which struggled in 2v2. Dignitas is mid-tier. Kuchi and Benny, obviously, have had a lot of challenges. But then back-to-back, they beat Pompeo and Diego B from Chivas Esports and beat Tribe Gaming's Azelias and Buffmac, and that's what really proved this is an elite 2v2 pair.
100%. It's not an easy thing to do to take the set over anyone in the league, but when you talk about the best duos out there, we were all wondering if Pain was able to match up against them, and We've seen it. They are very, very good. So here we go. Pain, top of your screen, as you said. SSG, bottom. Mega Knight going to run right into those Princes. Looks like double Prince maybe coming out top of your screen.
Very, very interesting. Talking about these different decks, RF and AC ran some stuff that was a little outside of the meta, you might say, during the final week. It was the only chance for teams to look at them with the new meta in play, and that was a calculated move because Trainer Luis telling me that they have some big stuff planned for this opening set.
You know, absolutely. They were in a good position. They were going to make playoffs either way. It was all about where their matchup was going to lie, and for them, the biggest thing is looking at World Finals. That's what they want. That's the eye on the prize, and, you know, they set themselves up in the best position that they thought.
So Golem coming out for Pain Gaming. A bit of a surprise here. We'll see if that ends up paying off. But as we've talked about before, Golem has kind of fallen out of favor in 2v2 after the first season of CRL.
Yeah, the thing that Pain has going for him, though, is an insane amount of single target DPS that they can get behind that Golem, in the Princess, in that Hunter. Of course, the Archers throw him in there, Mega Minion, and on top of all of that, you've got the Lightning that can really help on the back end. It's going to help clean up those assistant troops that you see from Space Station Gaming in the Musketeer, Baby Dragon, and Hunter.
Royal Giant Graveyard in for Space Station on the right-hand side. Poison comes out, pretty solid defense, but the RG does get a couple of shots, and now plenty still on the board to get this Golem well worked down before it crosses the bridge.
Yeah, right now about 8 Elixir in the hand of Space Station. There was only 6, I believe, in that moment for Pain, and now you see the triple drop of the ladies here, 2 Archers and a Musketeer.
Yeah, it's a curious move. You know, you don't think that there'd be a miscommunication there, but maybe just want to get a lot of DPS on the board for the moment. Here we go, final 15 seconds, getting into sudden death overtime, and at the moment, it is the rookies of Pain Gaming with the lead, 1546 to 1383 in the right-hand side.
Space Station Gaming going to go all out here. Yep, there it is. Mega Knight in front of the Royal Giant. Graveyard on the back end. RG in to tank for those Skeletons. Nope, Skeletons taken for the RG. Heal Spirit is going to help out, but that push did not get much out of it for how much they spent.
Yeah, just one Royal Giant shot. They do have the lead for the moment. Fireball Log is going to stick that cannon cart on the opposite side of the board. Very, very well calculated by Space Station Gaming, but Pain has a lot coming down the hill right now.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge stop right there. You see Skeletons coming up high to soak up that Prince charge, keep the Dark Prince shield on as it has to deal with the Hunter and the Prince. Really, really nice damage mitigation here by Space Station Gaming.
They are falling behind on Elixir, though, as we just have 90 seconds left in sudden death overtime, and the Dark Prince gets in front of the Golem here. I think they were looking for a bit of a push there, Andrew.
Yeah, that's a big, big thing for them to have happen, is that Dark Prince getting in front. There you so NATO coming in to pull the Golem back, which is really what they want. They do not want that death damage to come in on top of that Golem. They need a, there we go, ground unit to come in to catch that cannon cart.
You know, that Dark Prince might have actually done its job there, Andrew. You see the Golem not getting pulled to the middle by the bomb tower initially, so real sharp Dark Prince if that was the intent out of Pain Gaming.
Yeah, really, really nice there. And here you go. Up top, Royal Giant Graveyard once again. Space Station needs to get some offense out of this, but they're really struggling with just having that Lightning. Not able to get the poison down on top of those Archers.
Yeah, I mean, the Dark Prince shield absorbing one shot, the beefy Prince taking some of that damage as well, Lightning proving not to be as valuable in this matchup as maybe Space Station would have hoped. Final 30 seconds, the lead now just slightly swinging towards Pain Gaming.
NATO poison, you see Mega Knight is not going to take off the cannon cart in time. Heal comes in, so Royal Giant focuses on that cage, but not able to get a shot in. That is a massive exchange for Pain.
And a huge Lightning for Pain Gaming as well, just trying to keep everything back as much as they can. Graveyard in. Don't know about the poison on their side. NATO trying to make some room. Lightning trying to steal it. Can they get enough damage in?
Freeze.
No, not going to happen. Pain Gaming takes game number 1.
That was incredibly close. What a beautiful back and forth. Incredibly different win conditions. And you talk about Pain Gaming proving how good they are. They were able to control that game and play great defense with a Golem win condition. I love what I just saw.
Yeah, it's not something we don't see much these days. And a big note here from game planning against Pain. Lucas has kind of famously put Skeletons into every one of his matches this season, even lamented when he forgot to do it in one of their late games. And I have to imagine that maybe Space Station Gaming was expecting something a little bit faster with some more cards that would give up lightning value.
Well, what's crazy for them is that poison not being in their deck was so brutal when you talk about actually getting DPS in on their graveyards. You know, those archers on the back end were able to clean up, be able to drop Baby Dragon way up high. All of that would have provided so much more utility for Space Station had they had a poison instead of that fireball. But the fireball they had to keep using at the bridge to keep these massive pushes coming across. I mean, you look right there, a lot of times they would have a cannon cart, a goblin cage, plus a brawler, a prince, and something else at the bridge, so a fireball would have to come down regularly.
And good job on the replay. I don't know if we can pull that. We can go look at that replay one more time, the Dark Prince and the Golem, but they did go ahead and show us that one, and the Golem snuck right on by, and that required a lot of extra expenditure that didn't pay off maybe as well as Space Station Gaming would have liked. Pain now continuing their run of terror. Lucas 11-1 overall in 2v2. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, incredibly composed. It almost looks as if there's just one mind working out there. I mean, we even saw a double drop out of Space Station Gaming. Maybe they weren't worried about a poison coming in because it was out of cycle, but the Musketeer and the Archers in the same spot is just usually something you don't want to do. If you can ever stagger those units, you always want to take advantage of that. But otherwise, Pain Gaming looked like they played incredibly clean 2v2 Clash Royale, which I think they have to do. I think this is really the set for them to take to set up their squad for the rest of this BO5.
They have difficult 1v1s ahead of them, Andrew. There's no question about that. I said at the top of the season that Pain Gaming's bread and butter is going to be winning more King of the Hills than they lose. It turned out that 2v2 ended up being the big winner for them. But I think for Pain Gaming, if they win this, it's by going all the way to the 5th and final set and having a great King of the Hill run. It's going to be hard to get through that 1v1. The win starts right here for the Brazilians.
Absolutely. This was a huge first game pickup. If they can 2-0 sweep Space Station Gaming in the 2v2, that is the best way for them to have success. So let's hop into game number 2. A very close game number 1. You saw Golem coming out for Pain, and of course Royal Giant, Giant Skeleton, plus Graveyard for Space Station. But with all of that, just not able to get damage on tower. And there you go, Rich. Skeleton cycled both ways.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I was interested in. Obviously, Lucas very well known for high cycle decks, or for fast cycle decks, and I wonder from a Space Station standpoint about game planning. After seeing that big Golem beatdown deck, a little bit more versatility, not what you expect out of Pain Gaming. And now if Pain's going, okay, well, we went that way, let's go this way.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to go double Expo now, which is something we've seen out of them before with great success. I mean, honestly, Pain Gaming has been able to do basically anything in the 2v2 set. I'm really curious, Rich, because, you know, you talk about strategizing against Pain Gaming, and this is a complete 180 from what they ran in game number 1.
Yeah, take a look at this. The Electro Spirit worked in as well, so we'll see how they fare with that one. Fireball and Ice Wiz on the right-hand side, a little bit of chip damage for Pain as we get past the first minute of gameplay.
And Pain Gaming right now just cycling cheap, making sure they have enough responses in hand in case Space Station likes to go heavy on offense. So here we go. There it is. High Valkyrie. Back on the back end, you see all those skeletons coming down again.
I wonder if that Tesla was a bit of a mistake there, Andrew. It seemed like it came out a half second early and got pushed to the right, which now forces Pain Gaming to use their Tornado to pull that Royal Giant over to it. That 3 elixir might end up costing them as time goes on.
Yeah, it was a little surprising to see him drop the Tesla when they already had one on the board. Maybe it felt for them the safest cycle card because they knew they'd be able to get enough DPS on top of a Royal Giant or a Hog Rider. But yeah, it's just something they're going to want to avoid in the future. Now they know what they're going up against.
Here we go. Final 10 seconds until double elixir. And just setting up Ice Wiz on the right-hand side. At the moment, a very slight lead for Pain Gaming. 22-12 on the right-hand side with the 22-44 are now on the left-hand lane.
I'm excited to see how this first Expo exchange goes. You see right now Pain getting aggressively off, or really heavy on the offense. A great Fireball comes in for Space Station and that up-high Royal Giant. That's a great trade for them.
Yeah, the Ice Wiz getting in there with the Tesla as well might have been a bit much. Might have worked out better if they'd blocked on the left-hand side or the inside with troops, as you see them doing here with the Valkyrie on the left.
And there you go. Up high is going to be those skeletons. Lightning to boot, and now we got a very healthy push coming down the right-hand side, and this is where Expo struggles. When your opponent is able to mount a big downhill push in one lane, do you have the DPS for it? It looks like Pain does.
They have a lot on the board right now, although it might be an opportunity here for Space Station to get a little bit extra going. A lot of leakage in the hand of Crap right now, up to 2.8 elixir leaked just in that exchange.
Yeah, not able to get his lightning down, so instead they go with the Fireball on the right-hand side to get that defensive Expo, a little bit lower in HP. Obviously, you never want to get 2 Expos on the board, and the last thing you want is for Pain to be able to set up a city. If they get 3 buildings on the board, Space Station's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Mega Knight in deep. Dark Prince is still pretty healthy, getting deeper into territory, and now Expo sets up on the right-hand side. Royal Giant immediately in response.
Yeah, this Royal Giant is working out really, really great for Space Station Gaming. I mean, maybe this is something that they were planning against the complete 180 in game number 2 when you talk about what they have. Obviously, Graveyard isn't the greatest win condition against Expo, but when you add in that Royal Giant up on the front end, it definitely helps.
Be very curious to see if Pain tries to even get Expo on tower at this point, knowing that one of those 2 big beefy units should be in cycle pretty regularly. Right now, AC and RF doing a good job of alternating their timing on both sides of the board.
So now you see AC and RF behind by just a little bit, but what you're talking about, Rich, becomes this thing of when we get deeper and deeper into this flowing elixir, how is Pain going to deal with it? And right now they're having a very difficult time. SSG back in the lead by a lot.
Yeah, and final minute here, you see setting up on defense with the Expo deep on the right-hand side, away from the side the Graveyard will come in. Expo goes to the right, Mega Knight comes out to protect the Musketeer on the left, and check out, that's a nice little bomb tower to work on that Expo on the right-hand side.
Yeah, you love to see it. You're going to have to bust it out at least once a game when you're playing against Expo. You got to get your defensive building, if you have one, up high to catch it right at the bridge for a positive trade. Obviously, you don't want to do it every single time, and you don't want to do it the first time because your opponent's probably going to look for it, but I like where they did it just now.
Rocket Cycle comes in, and take a look at this. This Spell Cycle game could prove to be difficult for Space Station. A good Knight to control and keep the Teslas working in the middle. Here we go. Fireballs in, logging on the left-hand side for Space Station. This is going to be a foot race, Andrew.
Yeah, now the Graveyard's in on the back end. Rocket comes back down, but that's a lot of elixir spent on just a spell. I think Space Station's going to steal it here. 432 to 693. 2 seconds, not enough time for anything else. We are even going to game 3.
This has been such a pitched battle, Andrew. The exact kind of thing you want to see with World Finals on the line. And now we're tied up 1-1. And if I'm Space Station Gaming, I'm looking at my playbook going, what the heck is Pain coming out with in Game 3?
Yeah, I agree. I think you go, if you're Space Station Gaming, you go with your comfort 2v2 deck, something that you know you can outplay them with, but also has incredible defensive capability. And what's fascinating also about this is, you know, you talk about who they play if they win this match. Either way, it's going to be SK Gaming. But if I'm SK Gaming looking at this 2v2 set, I might be sweating just a little bit.
Yeah, it's certainly, I mean, either way, you have a fantastic 2v2 duo against you on either side of the board, and here you go. It's the Expert on the right-hand side, and just look at all this fireball value. The Ice Wiz, the Tesla, and I guess the Tesla does help by keeping the Royal Giant stuck up there for a little while longer, but you know, you maybe protect the Expo on the inside with something a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, that exchange was fantastic. You know, you saw the late Heal Spirit come in and the Knight come down at the very end of that replay. And honestly, all the elixir that was spent there and the great value that SSG was able to get out of that fireball, it really made it hard for Wallace and Lucas to get ahead in elixir and get their city built. As you can see, the city's built now. They got 4 buildings on the board. There's only 20 seconds left. And then if you're in a spell cycle race, this is going to be a tough one because the moment that you go for your big spell, your opponent is going to get that Graveyard down, as we see right here. Rocket comes in, Graveyard goes in, but all of a sudden those skeletons are not dealt with.
Well, one thing that Space Station did a great job of in this match, Andrew, in this game, was not giving spell value by cycling behind King Tower early, especially into that right-hand weaker tower. You saw how late the Rocket cycle began for Pain Gaming. Too late to really catch up to the lead that Space Station had at the time, and a lot of that is because they were playing their troops that were rocketable higher and more in the middle rather than giving that value on that right-hand tower.
Yeah, and the other problem, or I guess the difficulty rather than problem with running Expo in 2v2 is you know there's only 2 ways to win. It's a spell cycle race or an Expo connection. So if your opponent can recognize that really early on with only 4 or 5 cards dropped, maybe 2 from each of you, that's exactly what Space Station did. And I'm glad you pointed that out, Rich. They go, all right, we know what we're playing against. What's one thing we want to avoid all game long? How about rocket value behind King Tower? Okay, we're never going to allow that to happen. What's the next thing you never want to happen with Expo? Overspending in single elixir. But what they did do is they recognized their opponent making a mistake, and if you can turn the heat up against Expo, it can be very difficult to deal with because of the low DPS.
Yeah, you talk about being prepared, Andrew, that early recognition. The first big Expo Tesla push on the right-hand side, they had everything lined up.
Yeah.
They had the Royal Giant ready to go, the Fireball ready to go. Everything was lined up. They were easily prepared for it and looking ahead in the game, and that's why we're going to a game number 3 here. And a very important game number 3. You got to feel like the win right now matters more for Pain Gaming than it does for Space Station.
100%. It feels like Space Station Gaming probably thought they were going to win this set. And I think they probably think they're going to meet their most adversity in this set because of how good Wallace and Lucas are. But when you start moving into those head-to-head matchups and you look at even what RF did in their first match, obviously that was 8 weeks ago, but RF has just been very consistent throughout. He's still playing at the top of his game, and if he was able to do it to you in week 1, he could maybe then again do it in match 10.
One thing that I do feel is a big difference from what we saw in 8 weeks ago to now is the level of nerves out of Pain Gaming, right? They are certainly more composed than they've been in the past. That Tesla second drop notwithstanding, if that was maybe a half step early. What I'm curious about is if that lack of nerves continues into the 1v1, where each person's out there with just the pressure on themselves as that mounts further and further.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. You don't have your buddy to lean on. Here we go. Game number 3 of our first match of playoffs, Pain's 2v2 duo against Space Station Gaming's 2v2 duo. If you would have talked to me halfway through the season, I don't think this would have been as exciting as it is, but as we've said, turning it around, Lucas and Wallace have been insane, and they are really giving AC and RF a run for their money.
Well, heading into week 5, Andrew, Pain Gaming was 1-3. They weren't really getting anything done, and it looked like it was going to be yet another season of missing playoffs for Pain as an organization. But as soon as they made the switch to put Lucas into 2v2, everything changed. You have big step-ups by Sweep in King of the Hill, some big moments from Vitor in 1v1, and that's how you get here. And now, a very interesting throwback matchup, Andrew. Lava Hound and Golem.
Yeah, man, it feels like 2017 all over again. Lava top of your screen, Golem at the bottom. Golem is going to connect. And I don't believe we're going to see a tornado. We would have seen it already out of Wallace or Lucas. So Golem going to burst on that tower and a massive lead to start for Space Station.
Well, you think about it, we talk about how Giant Skeleton's great against Graveyard when you have a band, and it's banned. That helps out with getting troops across the board. Helps for Golem too, right? The Giant Skeleton not catching all those troops behind Golem and blowing them up. So it's interesting to see AC and RF maybe taking a note out of their opponent's book here in game number 3.
You saying that Giant Skeleton was banned just made me realize I called the Mega Knight Giant Skeleton in game 1. It's funny how that works. So here we go. Brawler working his way down the left-hand side. A odd Goblin Cage, but I understand what they're going for now. King Tower activation plus this aggro here on the right. And Electro Dragon eaten alive by that lightning.
So here we go. NATO pulling all that together. Good control on the right-hand side. Space Station currently holding on to their lead. Miner goes to the safe spot all the way on the outside. Of course, not so safe in 2v2.
Yeah, here we go. This is really interesting because you look at the massive amount of damage that has been dealt by Pain over those last 2 exchanges. Now we see the Golem coming back out for Space Station, but we are in double elixir time. I imagine that Pain is really going to try to turn up the heat here on the right-hand side so that AC and RF can't just double down on the left.
I'm curious about how much effort they do throw into that left-hand lane there, Andrew. And right now you have the Inferno Dragon behind the Lava Hound. This has been pretty easily dealt with most of the way through. That's going to pull the Lava Hound back. If the cannon cart goes down early enough, no, it does not. Hunter going to take care of a lot of business. And those archers are going to stay on very, very nicely. The lead for the moment for Pain, but how long is this going to last with that damage on the left-hand side?
Yeah, they definitely get a little bit of damage in, but the Barbarians plus that Goblin Brawler did so much work against the Golem. Maybe a high lightning here? No, they're going to NATO it back, try to get the Inferno Dragon away. Electro Dragon not in cycle, though.
And the Golem death damage does not get on the tower. That is absolutely huge. Dark Prince does take its shield off. 405 on the left-hand side. Right now, a lot of trouble for Pain Gaming as we move into sudden death.
Yeah, that was a big lightning, and now since their win condition is Lava Hound, they're gonna they can't get another lava down effectively. They're gonna go with it right there. Poison comes in easy for AC and RF. Now they just need a little bit more spell value. Space Station Gaming does end up taking the 2v2.
It was close, it was dangerous, but a couple little moments maybe of getting distracted. A one-shot Baby Dragon getting a belch on the left-hand side, put that in very, very easy spell cycle range, and Space Station puts a big, big hitch in the giddy-up of Pain.
Well, you know, in 2017, we saw a lot of Golem, we saw a lot of Lava Hound, and honestly, we saw a lot of mirror matches because they were the most two popular win conditions. But the one thing that we did see is if you had two great players playing Golem against two great players playing Lava Hound, a lot of the times the Golem would come out on top just because it is a bit beefier. You can leave a Golem alone in one lane, and it still has to be dealt with as it gets to the tower, whereas a Lava Hound can be pretty much ignored if it isn't supported for a very long time.
So here we go. We're going to see on the right-hand side, pretty easily dealt with, and a great job overall by Space Station of spreading out their troops. Look at that, Lightning only getting 2 troops on the right-hand side for Pain Gaming, not the value that you want. And this is where things really did start to turn towards Space Station's way.
Yeah, those Golemites start bursting. Another Golem comes right down. Pain recognizes they're in trouble. They're low on Elixir. They have to defend this really, really, really quickly. And so they do a pretty good job. You'll see right here, this Golem getting to tower doesn't burst on it, and they spend that NATO. They spend that extra little NATO and the Dark Prince. Now they're trying to get back on offense with that much less Elixir.
And take a look at this. The Baby Dragon, this miscalculated. Baby Dragon got a belch, and before that, it's still spell cycle is still a danger, but you can imagine that maybe Space Station wouldn't super spend on that left-hand side. But at that point, once that Baby Dragon belch, a little miscalculation there by Pain Gaming, that's the end of it. GG, well played. We're going on to 1v1.
Yeah, that Baby Dragon belch, also the Lava Hound being dropped on the right-hand side lets you know where they just allocated a bunch of their Elixir, so why not try and sell out? And they do. So AC, RF picking up a big 2v2 set victory. I'd be surprised if we saw Crap come back out in the 1v1 just because RF, Lapo, and Samuel have been playing so very well in the 1v1. But who knows? Maybe they're going to try to swerve Pain Gaming, but I feel like it's going to be pretty much down the line. Rich, what do you think is the best way to approach this first set for Pain Gaming? Who should they bring out right now?
Man, that's a tough one. Obviously, you can't bring out Lucas because he just went up. So it comes down to Vitor or Sweep most likely in this opening one. So Vitor hasn't done well leading off the head-to-head play in King of the Hill, which is a little bit different. He hasn't done well leading it off. In my opinion, you go Sweep here in this next one. He's super confident. He's brash. He's not really one who kind of fades under the moment in terms of nerves. I think he's the best person to be the leadoff hitter for 1v1 right now.
I like that. I like it. If Sweep is feeling confident, he's going to go out there against probably what would be either RF or Lapacati, who you know are both very, very confident dudes. Samuel usually likes to slip in a little bit later on in the match. I imagine if he goes up against Lapo, we're going to see a pretty fun show on the cameras here. And hey, look at that. It is going to be Lapo and Sweep. I actually did not know it was going to be Lapo. So here we go. Two of our most emotive players in the game in this very first 1v1 of our BO5 here in playoffs.
And Lapacati opens up immediately by splitting the wall breakers at the bridge, does get a connection out of it. Sweep maybe, I was going to say, overspending a little bit with throwing that Mega Minion in response.
Yeah, I was going to say minor wall breakers with E-Barbs has been really, really popular, so we'll see if that's the version that Lapo's running right now, but Dark Goblin coming out.
Yeah, very fast from Lapacati and Lava Hound. This might have been a starting hand situation for Sweep. Didn't have anything that was great to deal with both of those wall breakers, and now Lapo going to double down.
Yeah, Lapo sure does. That Dark Goblin's going to get a few more shots in. A lot spent. Lapo has 10 Elixir in hand and basically a whole arsenal to deal with this push. Sweep knows it. We'll see how he wants to deal with it.
Good control with the Ice Golem up high. Skeletons will help as well, so this Lava Hound's going to get eaten alive. Miner goes to the #1 spot, but Miner to pick it up. Right now, it's all Lapacati. Can he hold off, though? Because right now, oh, yeah, absolutely he can. Great control from the Belarusian.
Yeah, exactly. That was a beautiful play-by-play. You called it perfectly, and that is exactly the word to use, control. You can see the smile on Lapo's face. He knows that he is really dominating this, and Sweep probably already knows game one's in the books. He needs to figure out how, if he can, turn this around.
You want to talk about how Lapo's career in CRL, his rookie season, had the #1 win rate of the regular season at 72%. But let's put this in context, Andrew. Here in the fall split, he's actually outdone that, coming into playoffs with a 79% win rate.
Wow. That is astounding. And it feels like he's kind of done it under the radar. I mean, obviously, Lapo's been really, really good, but I had no idea that he'd been that deadly this season.
Well, he's been kind of quiet. He's only played 14 games on the season, and it looks like he's going to lose the tower here, so we'll see if that win rate continues to hold up. he hasn't played as much as maybe you would think, but 14 games, 11 wins, 3 losses. Nice year so far. But now we'll see if he can continue it going here as we reach the final 40 seconds of regulation in this opening game of 1v1.
Yeah, this is going to make it a lot more difficult. I mean, the best thing about this deck that Lapo's running, and especially this version of it because of how high cycle it is you're able to create an insane amount of dual lane pressure, but you have to play your defenses perfectly. As you're seeing right there, bomb tower comes up high. That bomb is going to help take off those units. Second bomb tower is going to be there, but he's not going to have anything to get on top of that flying machine.
Yeah, Flying Machine just going to town. Andrew, no big spell, and no spell to deal with the air.
Yeah.
The only ways he deals with the air are, of course, the Bomb Tower bomb, those bats, the Ice Golem blowing up, and the Dark Goblin. So, as you talked about, it does make it difficult to control, and as we go deeper and deeper into double and eventually triple Elixir, this is going to be a tough out here for the Belarusian.
100%, and you look at the arrows, what massive value arrows can get from Sweep every single time. Look at that, the swerve in the pocket, double connection with those wall breakers.
You don't see a lot of pocket wall breakers, but you saw it work out beautifully there. Now the lead back to Lapacati. Should see a high bomb tower, I believe, coming in. No, just going to go ahead and go pocket wall breakers one more time. Tombstone picks him up.
You like that. You makes him spend 3 more elixir on defense. Now I have to get a bomb tower up high. Instead goes Ice Golem. Needs to get bats around on something on top of that flying machine. Lapo's in trouble. That's going to be game.
Yeah, it's a very clear game number 1. He just couldn't get enough elixir to get a bomb tower down in any way that was safe in game number 1. Sweep taking a big come from behind victory.
Yeah, you know, as more and more of those cards started to come out from Lapacati, you started to recognize how bad the matchup became as the game went on. Obviously, he was going to get way more damage done in single, and he ends up taking even a tower basically in single elixir, but then you said it. As that game goes forward, you look at the spells in the hand of Lapacati, or I should say the lack thereof. He had to use his bomb tower as a fireball regularly.
And, you know, the Sweep did a good job of not giving reasons for that bomb tower to be valuable. You know what you didn't see there a bunch? The Barbarians. You didn't see them come in and just feed that bomb tower and give it more reason to exist. So very, very heads-up maneuver by Sweep not to rely on those little yellow-haired fellas.
Yeah, and you look at the arrows, you know, from Sweep, the insane amount of value you can get from the arrows. I mean, this isn't quite as extreme of an example as we could give because he gets a couple units off the board, but you look at it, wall breakers, bats, skeletons, Dark Goblin, all of those cards are completely erased by the arrows. And you see here, this is a really pretty fancy move, and you and I get excited about it on broadcast. But honestly, I think Sweep looks at that and goes, cool, I think I just won the game. He overspends on offense, I don't lose my tower, and now I can do this. I can just go crazy at the bridge, and I guess that probably was really more so the nail in the coffin, Rich, was that tombstone to catch those wall breakers.
Yeah, those second wall breakers in the pocket, you know, I guess he was thinking that maybe he just needed to make a move and force him to spend some elixir on the back end, but you know, with the bomb tower being the only way to really control anything up front, with the Ice Golem trying to distract, just a tough situation. Lapo had some pretty fun, exciting moves there, but Sweep comes out with the more important thing, and that's the W. And now we go into game number 2 with Sweep doing what they wanted him to do here. He was 15-5 in the No-Tilt League, 75% win rate in head-to-head competition. This is what they hoped for him, and it does kind of raise the question of why they had him in 2v2 to start off the season, and a lot of that you have to imagine is because they wanted Lucas in the 1v1.
Right. Now with that incredible turnaround, it looks like everyone has found their place. Lapo going to go right back to it. A high bomber is going to allow one of those to connect. Don't see bomber too often.
You don't
Rich.
see a whole lot of... I wonder if this is the Mohammed Parsa deck? This might be... I can't remember if this is a graveyard deck. I think I saw this a little bit the other day. He might be going with a very interesting deck that's, I think, might be number 5 or 6 on ladder right now.
So Lapo going to go E-Barbs on the right-hand side. He is going to get a lot out of it, but Rich, this is going to be a big push on the left. Pekka-Loon. I love that.
Pekka-Loon and a nice little miner to pull the Pekka back, but we'll see how much that helps. Balloon. Oh, what a nice NATO.
Yeah. I knew Lapo would have the Ice Golem ready to go, but it was all about how would Sweep get a connection in. He goes with a great heads-up NATO. That's a beautiful play there from Sweep.
Yeah, really, really nicely played. Look, the miner was cheeky. The miner was some good control. Yeah. But that NATO was a little bit better. But take a look at this, though. We come out of it even on Elixir about with the advantage in damage overall still going to Lapacati.
Yeah, that's something you guys need to recognize at home watching these plays. Anytime you see someone come across the bridge with the balloon, you'll see the pros go out of their way to make sure the tank doesn't get down. So regularly, you'll see an opponent go tank, balloon at the bridge, especially in double and triple. It's really important you keep that tank at bay so you can really focus all your DPS on the balloon. It was a really great play by Lapo.
I really can't believe Sweep is running this. Keep an eye out for it. You're going to see a Graveyard come out at some point, unless he decides the Graveyard isn't the right call. But this deck, oh no, going with the USA. A Graveyard will be the last card in this one. It's such a weird deck from ladder. We've seen a bunch of it in the CWA Cup 2 this week. Just shocked to see Sweep pull it out during playoffs in CRL.
Yeah, the only problem that Sweep might have is that he's given up so much damage early on that right-hand side to where Lapo should be able to get 800 damage in by underspending on defense, or underspending on offense and overspending on defense. But instead he's going to go offensive. Wall breakers do connect.
Miner working on the left-hand side. P.E.K.K.A making a beeline for the tower. Arrows trying to help out, but a nice little kite of the Ice Golem. Well controlled here by Lapakati, who you have to imagine has faced this deck a fair bit, being a talented ladder player himself.
Yeah, and oh, look at that. Beautiful prediction fireball right on top of that bomber, and that is going to be a tower down on the left-hand side. Sweep has to overspend. Lapo has just firmly taken control of this game.
What a recovery from Lapakati, from Sweep, but man, that was a beautiful pre-fireball. Lapo trying to keep this P.E.K.K.A going left, going right, going all over the place. We'll see if he can get the damage in before this ends, and there you go. Here's the Graveyard on the right-hand side, and I don't know what Lapakati can do at this stage. Fireball high, and that Miner gets a ton of damage on the left.
It sure does. That Prince Shield was still on. Lapo kind of gets away with though in there. Hunter's still on the board, which is really, really fortunate for him. Arrows aren't going to do it, and just like that, Lapakati takes the game. 2:11 left on that tower. Just need a couple more Miners to come in. Miner, fireball.
Yeah, I do wonder about those. Yeah. I wonder about that that set of arrows on the right-hand side. It forced an extra expenditure and didn't get the damage.
Yeah.
I mean, so many crazy things. Lapo's gameplay was brilliant. Sweep's deck choice was insanity. And this was one of the most fun games we've had so far in CRL.
Well, you look at the look on Lapo's face, and it's almost like he's like, if I'm going to win, I want to do it the way that I like to win. And that's going to make it really, really hard for myself. I mean, again, he gets beaten in game 1 by running a high cycle Miner wall breakers deck, and he gets beaten by the beatdown. You know, Sweep goes to the skies, he hardly even has to use his barbs, and he just eats him alive. What does Lapo do? He goes, all right, let's go right back to quick cycle, but let's add a couple spells in there. Brilliant plays on both sides. Sweep had a great NATO, some really good stuff, but Lapakati kiting that P.E.K.K.A all over the board. It was just, I could watch that all day.
Yeah, it seemed like the hard thing for Sweep was deciding when to most effectively use the arrow and the tornadoes, right?
Yeah.
The tornado, there are times when you want to use that tornado, and you'll see one of them here is going to pull that Hunter up into the P.E.K.K.A, which is kind of a big part of what you want to do here is use that tornado to deal with the Hunter a lot of the way, or to deal with the kites. And you saw one sequence at the end where he uses the arrows on the this is that beautiful prediction fireball. Oh my lord!
I mean, Sweep definitely did it. I think 3 or 4 times. So you know he probably should have changed up that placement, but he wanted it to still be able to support the lane that he was going after and kite those E-barbs around. But just a beautiful fireball from Lapo.
And watch this. This is all backwards right here, right? That should be the arrows on the wall breakers and the tornado on the Hunters.
Yes.
And I think that part of that is that prediction earlier on forced him to use the tornado on the E-barb. So cycle gets completely disrupted, meaning the spells can't be used for their intended purpose in this matchup, and just brilliant, brilliant moment that changed the entire game for Lapakati.
Yeah, and that's where it becomes this incredible game of chess. Will they, won't they? Is he going to drop the bomber there again? He's already done it a couple times in a row. Is he going to try to swerve me by dropping it in the same spot? Am I going to fireball nothing? All of that is so great to see because you see the mental like gymnastics that are happening on both sides there. And honestly, Sweep probably goes, I dropped it twice in a row. Do you think he thinks I'd do it again? Maybe not. And he does it one more time. So let's go into game number 3 here. A really great back and forth battle. I mean, we've gone the distance in our first 2 sets, and that's exactly what we want to see here in playoffs.
Yeah, it was brilliant. You see the smile on Lapakati's face right now. He's certainly feeling the magic at the moment. We'll see if Sweep can go ahead and disrupt that. Man, what a game that last one was. So many fun things, especially if you're a big fan of the competitive scene and follow it really, really well. There was a lot of stuff that happened there that was pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I mean, you just talk about the management of interactions on both sides, and it just goes to show how the 10,000 plus hours that have been put in by these 2 gentlemen.
So wall breakers again for Lapakati. Why not just keep on doing minor wall breakers and see if Sweep can adjust to it? very compelling.
Yeah, you know, it is really interesting because we talk a lot about these high cycle decks, and we talk about, you know, when they're in the hands of certain players and the outplayability factor. Lapo, it does feel like, has the edge in a 1v1 set against Sweep, but, you know, you talk about that first game, and Sweep really put it to him after losing his first tower.
Hunter to the right-hand side. Fisherman goes ahead and going to pull a wall breaker instead. Nice protection there from Lapakani.
And Lapo just going to sit back.
Just kind of, slowing it down. You know, it's interesting, Andrew, that deck that we saw last game, and this is going to be interesting how to control this Mega Knight. Might get a King Tower activation here out of Lapo. Gets the Hunter low. Did it go low enough in this stage? And no, it didn't. So we're not going to get the King Tower activation. About a little bit high there with the placement from Lapakani.
Yeah, and you know, and that still went about as good as it could have for Lapo. He ends up taking him, you know, about 500 damage on each side of the board. If he hadn't sent in that miner last second at the exact same time that his opponent went on offense, he would have been able to either use that elixir or that miner to play a clean defense, but instead he comes out taking 1,000 damage split.
Miner goes to the safe spot on the left-hand side. Hunter low will help DPS that down a bit as we go into the final minute of regulation play. Currently, the lead is being held by Lapakani, 17-20 on that right-hand side, but dual lane pressure also coming in from the Canadian.
Yeah, Ebarb cycled way in the back, knowing that Sweep's Mega Knight is out of cycle, so that's really going to help clean this up. Fisherman going to do a lot of work up high for Sweep.
Yeah, that miner was trying to control the Mega Knight. It kind of got caught between controlling the Mega Knight and the Fisherman, and yeah, this is a lot of damage on the left-hand side. Sweep taking a huge lead, and he's going to take the tower,
Yes,
Andrew.
he is. That was massive. You saw that first Hunter played by Lapakani, or the Hunter that was on the board, needed to stay alive. It needed to get that last shot in on the Mega Knight. It doesn't happen, and guess what? Tower down by Sweep, and this is a little bit of what I was saying at the beginning of the match. Yes, this deck has outplayability, but if your opponent just straight up beats you down the way that Sweep did in game 1 and 3, it's really hard to bounce back from a massive damage deficit. Big time set to Sweep.
Yeah, huge. And this is exactly what Payne wanted. This is why they put him out in front. They knew that he had the kind of grit to not get nervous in this moment. And, you know, you could get nervous after game number 2 with the big-time plays that Lapo went. But remember, a lot of that match in game number 2 was all came down to one prediction by Lapakani, and Sweep probably knew that. Didn't come into game number 3 with much nervousness and made a good deck selection that doesn't have a ton of terrible matchups, especially against Lapakani's deck.
Well, and here's the other thing, is you look at what Sweep has in his hand, and he is able to defend those wall breakers really adequately without saying that's the only deck I match up well against, right? He goes, okay, Lapo runs Wall Breakers Miner in game 1 and in game 2. There's a chance he could do it in game 3. It's something that he kind of likes to do when he feels like he's in a zone. And look at this right here. Just Sweep overwhelms him. There's just too much going on. That Mega Knight has too much HP, and Lapo only has 2 great ways to DPS down that Mega Knight, and one of them was cycled off to the right-hand side in the E-Barb, so it's going to be all about that Hunter. But that Hunter's really squishy. You need to get something in front of it. You got to keep that Ice Golem down. Really great job by Sweep.
Yeah, well, that miner got caught in no man's land, Andrew. You saw that in the replay. The miner was trying to keep that Mega Knight stuck in a place where the Hunter would DPS it down, but the miner went right into Fisherman range. Fisherman pulls that away. Mega Knight says, okay, you're taken care of, and now we have to have a downhill push destroying it. This has been a really interesting day so far, but a big signature win for Sweep. Win or lose for Payne Gaming, this is one to hang on your wall.
Yeah, you know, and you talk about that dual lane pressure that did finally come in, and just to highlight the Fisherman again, that Fisherman was placed in such an excellent spot by Sweep. It was really doing all the work it could on the left and right hand sides of the board, including allowing that Mega Knight to get to tower. So a really exciting first 2 sets. We've gone the distance so far. We got 6 games in the book so far. Here we go. 1v1 once again. Who's coming out? I feel like now we see RF for Spacestation Gaming, and we know that lost set won't be getting to his head.
Yeah, that would be the same thing they did against Tribe in playoffs last season, where they went RF second set and then Samuel Basoto in the third 1v1 set. I believe, if I remember correctly, is how that one went down. So wouldn't be surprised to see. And yeah, here you go, RF against Vitor, and that is a big, big breath to calm your nerves out of Vitor.
Yeah, I mean, he knows how good the God RF is, and he also knows, and you see right there wiping his hands down on his shirt. I love it, man. I love to see the excitement and the hype behind it, these rookies.
So a slow start here. No one pushing the pace at this stage. Vitor, the Portuguese player who's been the big bulwark for the Portuguese international competitions. Of course, a lot of talented guys out of his country, but this, as we talked about a little bit before already this season, Andrew, has been a big year for Portugal putting themselves on the map. They've kind of had an insular Clash Royale scene that doesn't mix as much with the rest of the competitive scene, and I know a lot of those players who are behind him from his home country excited to see him perform so well on the big stage.
Yeah, and I bet, you know, it was really a big match for Vitor. It felt like that was when he really came out and was able to start. I mean, not only did he pick up his first wins there, but it led to him starting to play better in the 1v1 set when he took down Canario. Then he came back in the next 2 matches after that. He picked up 5 wins between 2 separate King of the Hills. So Vitor has completely turned his season around, as has most of Pain, now at a 50% win rate.
Interesting to see RF going what looks like it's going to be Lava Hound, not his normal here, but might have a matchup question that he wants to answer.
Yeah, you like to see RF not obviously going with Graveyard in game number 1, playing something just a little bit different. And honestly, I like that he's not going with Royal Giant either, because you'll see a lot of the same type of plays coming out, which is really patient play, waiting to find that opening with the RG or the Graveyard. So RF going to the Skies seems like it would have been a lot harder to game against.
And forced to eat 2 Hunter shots on the right-hand side is the Spacestation Gaming player. After that, Mega Knight just required so much over and over again. We'll see how well he can control that as time goes on.
Yeah, that Mega Knight is really going to be a thorn in RF's side. He probably has the Barbarians to help deal with it, but, you know, again, Mega Knight, splash damage, the leap, you got to play those barbs correctly.
And a smart Mega Knight here to protect the Hunter for the moment. You see the spacing right now. We'll see if Vitor goes for a Fireball in the middle, and he does, to get 1 Skeleton Dragon and the Fireball off. Good choice there, or the Flying Machine off. Good choice there by Vitor.
Yeah, and really nice spacing there from RF. You see 1 Skeleton Dragon staying alive, as does the Tombstone, which keeps that Mega Knight down, keeps that Mega Knight from getting more damage in, but Vitor has already done so much, less than 1,000 HP for RF on the right-hand side, so he sets up with his Lava.
9:45 remaining on that bottom right-hand side. So far, it's been all Vitor, and again, lots of Fireball value. Immediately, you see the Flying Machine come out behind, but that Tombstone not going to help with that balloon that's going right past the Mega Knight on the right-hand side. Just barely doesn't connect, but that balloon did a lot for Vitor.
Yeah, look at that. Flying Machine's in a great heads-up miner there from RF. A good Hunter to mitigate the damage from Vitor, but all of a sudden, RF has breathed a little bit of life back into this first game.
And that Mega Minion, Mega Minion came up high, and the balloon just went right past the Tombstone that was already kind of being forced to deal with. The Mega Knight doesn't quite connect on the right-hand side, but things looking very difficult for the Spacestation Gaming player.
The timing there for RF to get that Lava Hound down in time. He's going to be able to get back around to Tombstone, has enough Elixir to get the Hunter down on top. Instead has Skeleton Dragons, because we're talking about Cycle here. And now this is going to become a must-win scenario for the God RF.
Look at that. Oh, the miner does not get pulled by the Fisherman, and the miner's still tanking for the Lava Pups on the right-hand side.
Lava Pups in. Flying Machine arrows are on the tower. RF should steal this. RF is going to steal it. Look at that. Flying Machine in.
Wow. RF coming from behind. Vitor cannot believe what just happened, and that miner stayed tanking for a long time. GG, well played. And that's why he's the God RF.
I mean, he can't even believe what happened. You saw him shaking his head. What a brilliant minor position there. You see the Fisherman up high for Vitor, but it misses the first pull, then gets the second one in. Too late. Lava Pups tanking for a Flying Machine. Oh no, sir. No one ever wants to see that. What a beautiful sequence, and we're going to start right here at the top. It comes with a brilliantly timed Lava Hound plus Tombstone here as he drops down to 0 on all of these unit drops. And then it's just beautiful plays. Miner in, Tombstone, or excuse me, the Fisherman pulls Skeletons instead of the Miner, then gets the Miner late. Arrows on top of those minions. GG, well played.
Just no hesitation here from RF,
Yes.
right? And that's a veteran thing. He's looking in a hard moment where he's behind, he's struggling, and none of those plays came with any hesitation, and that's why they worked. You talk about getting the Tombstone down at the right timing with the Lava Hound. A little bit of fortune favoring the bold there with the Skeletons moving forward and getting picked up by the Fisherman instead of the Miner. But then you also see how quickly he got those arrows out, recognizing the situation. All that is because there was not a nerve situation for RF in that moment.
Yeah, and all the things you just said there are so important, right? You get all that stuff down. First of all, the Tombstone paying dividends, that extra skeleton pop coming out, distracts the Fisherman just long enough to get the Miner tanked for. And then the other side of it, the zero hesitation plays. He was probably locked and ready to go with those arrows because he knew what his opponent would have to do to try to get damage in time. Just brilliant, brilliant decision making. And as you said, Rich, pro caliber execution with reaction time. Let's go to game number 3. Or 2, excuse me.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into game number 2. Now, Andrew, this is the second time that a Pain Gaming player this season has gotten caught by RF by playing a troop high. Of course, more famously, the same thing, the Fisherman being played 2 tiles high by Lucas in that final game of King of the Hill, which is why the great prediction with the Goblins for RF got his Hog Rider onto that tower in that game for the big-time win. Same thing here. That Fisherman gets played low. It goes ahead and pulls the Miner instead, and maybe we have a different result from game 1.
And I also, just one more tip of the hat here to RF. I loved what he came out with deck-wise. I love that we saw something out of him that is not typical.
Well, that's what you need in a playoff situation is some atypical performances and atypical deck choices, right? You get predictable here, and it's going to become a long or a short drive that feels really, really long for you in those moments.
Hunter up high. This is going to be a lot of value for that Hunter. However, the Fisherman going to come in just in time, pulling the Hunter away. Has to double down with the Ewas, but now you see how much RF has on the board that is very healthy. Oh, wow. And the bomb doesn't clean up the Ewas.
And no elixir to deal with the Mega Knight. So Mega Knight there, Fisherman ignores the Barbarian and goes right to tower. Everything going wrong for Vitor here in game 2.
Yeah, and that was the other thing that I wanted to point out at the end of game number 1. Obviously, a heartbreaking loss for Vitor, to see that big of a lead kind of vanish, evaporate, and then to lose the game. But also, you saw how long he was kind of letting that loss hit him. When you're in a BO3 and not a King of the Hill, you got to bounce back immediately, and it feels like Vitor is just tilted now.
Yeah, and this has not been an abnormal situation for Vitor this year. He's had a couple of moments where he's thrown a game and it seems like it's been in his head for a little while longer, and that's part of why he's 50-50 on the season, and maybe not a little bit higher as you might expect.
So here we go. Hunter cycled in the back for the God RF. He's just going to sit back and really, really chill out for the rest of this game. Get spell value where he can, as you see right there with the poison. He knows that he's firmly in control.
Fisherman pulls Fisherman behind for Vitor. It's a lot here at the bridge.
Wow.
A great fireball out of the Portuguese player.
Yeah, really brilliant fireball. Although, again, you talk about RF and the lack of hesitation. 25-34 remains on that bottom right tower. In case you're just starting to play Clash Royale, that means it's untouched.
Well, one of the things RF is exceptionally good at keeping track of the general idea of cycling. Even if he's not thinking about about all the cards together, he does a good job of keeping that general cycle in mind, so it's part of why he seems like he's a little bit ahead of his opponents in occasions like the one we just saw.
I mean, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why he's the best graveyard player in the world, is he knows just when to pull the trigger. My gosh, that was beautiful. Graveyard comes in, has to deal with the Mega Knight on the right-hand side. Brawler goes straight to the tower without being touched, and the God RF has 2 sets in the book.
So from one of the hardest games that RF played all season to one of the easiest games that RF played all season. And this is one of the reasons why, Andrew, we talk about just how good he is, why he might be the player of 2020, depending on how the rest of this year goes, is because he performs well when he has a great situation and performs well in those high-pressure, dangerous, negative situations.
Yeah, the bounce back in the first game was just incredible, and you talk about a guy that's going to pick up crowns for you if you're, paying attention to Fantasy Royale. The God RF today has just been playing lights
out. And here we go. We're going to start to see just, I mean, nothing is too flashy, right? It's just all kind of done brilliantly.
Well, that's again, he's a guy who understands the game well, which one of the things he doesn't have to do is do a lot of flashy stuff, right? You saw that he plays just very, very clean Clash Royale and keeps track of the game very well. So it's very rare that he's playing in a situation where he has to do some big thing in this big moment to get it done. Of course, we saw something big in the last game, but even that was still sort of just he played the game like it was supposed to be played.
Yeah, and the timing there you saw, I mean, it's very reminiscent of the timing of, you know, the Lava Hound we saw in the last game. Getting that Electro Wizard down instantaneously made it so that that Bar Barrel had to come out high, which then allowed the Fisherman to just cruise past the Bar Barrel, allowed the Mega Knight to cruise past the Bar Barrel, and then you just look at this. It is just brutal. Vitor doesn't know where to defend, doesn't know what to do. High Fisherman, even higher Hunter on the left-hand side, but RF, there was no stopping him in that moment.
Yeah, none at all. And now we get to what I'm expecting to be a very interesting match point situation for Space Station Gaming. You believe that's going to be Samuel coming out for Space Station, and most likely Lucas coming out for that third 1v1 for Pain Gaming.
Yeah.
So two Brazilians, two top-tier ladder players, two guys who are known for playing high-quality, fast cycle decks. This is one of the most compelling matchups of the day, Andrew.
100%. The only issue that I see here is that Lucas has not played a head-to-head match since, or a head-to-head game since their match in week 5, or their match 5 against Team Liquid. Since then, they've been playing so dang well everywhere else. He hasn't actually had the opportunity to come into King of the Hill again. I mean, even in moments where they've lost King of the Hill, where they've won King of the Hill, you see Vitor sweeping and sweeping. Lucas just hasn't been able to hang out, and then he was finally able to come back out in match 9, where he was eliminated by TNT. So here we go. Samuel and Lucas, the Brazilians, facing off in what could be our final set of match 1.
Yeah, definitely a little bit easier situation for Samuel in this one, and that battle healer, please don't be the stinky cheese here out of Lucas in this game.
I mean, you see the princess with the thumbs up, and it feels like we all already know what it's going to be. It's going to be the Double Dragon battle healer deck, most likely with E-Golem. It's just the stink of the cheese, my friend.
And you know what? Honestly, I think this deck choice is a deck choice based primarily on nerves. He wants to get out there and play one deck that might be able to do a good job for him, and doesn't want to be having to do a whole bunch of micro in a situation where he knows he's got match point. Look, Lucas has struggled with nerves this season. That has been a challenge for him. So this is, you know, I might kind of complain about this deck a bit, but I think it's a smart call out of Pain to send him with this here for game number 1.
I agree completely. It is so incredibly forgiving, this deck. You can make a lot of mistakes in single elixir. You can even lose a tower and still bounce back and 3-crown your opponent. And so Samuel, now we see a graveyard coming out from Lucas.
Yeah, the Graveyard. I think Ewiz is in this deck as well, so going with the Graveyard Ewiz Battle Healer deck as opposed to the Stinky Cheese. And the Mega Minion might have been a clue that was the direction we were going in instead.
So Mega Minion coming out from both sides here. Miner up high. Ewiz catches it perfectly.
It's going to be really curious for Samuel how he deals with this overall, because you've already seen him once go with the balloon to deal with that Barbarian Hut. It's going to be difficult for him to get balloons on tower with the Mega Minion, the Ewiz, and the Barb Hut all together. So we'll see if most of his damage comes from the miner instead.
And I honestly think that we find Sam in a way better position than he would have been had it been an E-Golem deck. Yes, he does have that bomb tower, but when you talk about dealing with that in double and triple elixir, especially with the cards that he has, you talk about perfect Mega Minion placement, having to really preserve and recycle your archers every exchange, make sure you get 2 knights down every exchange, and then you got to wonder about how to get on offense. So, you know, maybe a bit of fortune here for Samuel.
Snowball buying some room, and that balloon's going to connect on the left-hand side. Huge connection for Samuel as the first 2.5 minutes have ticked away.
And so you see now not able to actually get the graveyard down on either side because he doesn't have a good enough tank, whereas if this were the E-Golem deck, he probably would have slipped one in front of either of those pushes.
Battle Healer, Baby Dragon, Mega Minion, left-hand side, no big spell to deal with all of that in the air. Snowball going to split it up a little bit as we get into the final 10 seconds going towards sudden death overtime. The lead currently is for Space Station Gaming. Samuel at 1296 on the left-hand tower, but Lucas does have another barb hut on the board.
Yeah, what Lucas is doing here is he's not overextending himself trying to make something happen with the graveyard. He's always making sure he can adequately defend, and then he's going to try to get that graveyard in. He's got a pretty good counter push here. We'll see if he actually goes.
Well, Lucas knows he can stack troops. That's the one benefit that he has in this situation, Andrew, because he's not worried about a fireball or poison or something big coming out and ruining those big collections on defense.
Yeah, really nice timing there with the log. You see a miner coming out defensively on the right-hand side, but this is exactly what Lucas wanted to see. He wants to see Samuel starting to get spread thin because the game is just getting more and more in his favor. You see him ticking to 10 and resetting in the back. You could probably imagine another push going to come in pretty quickly, and then another barb hut will come down right after that.
And he does have both of his primary counters to Balloon currently in hand as well. So right now, the rhythm going the way of Lucas, control of the game going the way of Lucas.
Yep. Archer's down low. Knight up high. Going to mitigate most of that damage. Only ahead by a bit, but it does really, truly feel like Lucas it's his game to lose.
Samuel's a little low on Elixir here on the right-hand side. Ewiz comes out to help on that Balloon, so Balloon will not connect. Death damage will get in, though, and that's some very important death damage. Graveyard in on the right-hand side now for Lucas.
Oh, that is a big, big graveyard. Mega Minion does come down just in time to turn things around. Knight on the left-hand tower. Lucas sacrificing his lead to try and steal a tower.
Man, that Knight on the left-hand tower did a ton. Miner to go in near the back, and this is going to be a lot of damage, Andrew, down to 530 HP, and Samuel doing a good job switching lanes, now playing away from his weak tower.
Exactly. Playing away from the weak tower, also playing away from the counter push. Balloon's going to get a drop, and just like that, Samuel manages his way to the victory.
That was really, really, really well played by Samuel. Did a good job of using the snowball to find openings for the Balloon, and you know, Lucas may be getting a little bit aggressive there and as we got into double and triple rather than stacking up with barb huts.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. He started giving away the one thing that gave him that big, big hit, which was those barbs. It was literally just two barbs, you know, on the left-hand side coming off of that barb hut with the graveyard that did get a good amount of damage in on Samuel's tower. Samuel, though, doing a brilliant, brilliant job with never being okay with playing in one lane. He always wanted to switch things up. He always wanted to create pressure away from where his opponent was. And you see right here, a big push on the left-hand side, but then Sam goes, all right, I can defend all that probably with a miner. Let's go heavy on the right offensively.
And this still ends up getting death damage on the right-hand side. And this whole sequence, it started with a snowball on the left-hand lane, getting there just in time to push the Ewiz in front of a battle healer. And it was little things like that ended up meaning the game for Samuel. We talk about micro a lot, and Lucas is one of the great micro players in the game, but Samuel out-microed him in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the last second Mega Minion on the right-hand side, the Knight up front to take for those archers, the late Balloon that comes in, everything about this push is sequenced so masterfully by Samuel, and then you get the late snowball. There's just no way to deal with it. And what does Lucas want to do? He wants to get that poison down earlier to deal with those archers, but he can't get it down in time because he has to spend it on defense. So Samuel just making his opponent make mistakes and play incredibly uncomfortably. You know, that felt like a more forgiving deck, Rich. We were talking about a deck that could maybe help control Lucas's nerves. Now what does he do?
I honestly don't know. I think that Lucas goes to something that's fast and quick, and just he stops thinking about it and starts reacting to the game, right? I think that one of the things about that deck is it's a slower deck. It means you're making lots of decisions. Lucas is known as one of the top 2.6 players in the world. I don't think he should play 2.6 here, but I do think something quick where he's reacting rather than thinking is the right way to go.
You're right back into game number 2, so maybe Lucas doing exactly what you're saying, Rich, not thinking, just getting that game up. He wants to get a win in.
Royal Ghost cycled in the back for Samuel. Gonna get picked up by the Goblin Cage. And we've talked about it a lot. Andrew Samuel, one of the greatest, and I think currently on one of the lists, the top all-time ladder player with 31 top 10 finishes, 4 first places. And specifically, Trainer Luis is one of the guys who's done a good job of cultivating ladder players into top-tier Clash Royale League talent.
Yeah, I mean, he knows the mental fortitude that it takes to be a great ladder player, and if you can have that kind of wherewithal, if you can have that kind of mental strength in CRL, then it makes it very, very hard to tilt you. Really nice
So that
defense.
Royal Ghost going to mean a bit of an elixir advantage for Samuel. So you see Lucas goes late with the Hunter, immediate Royal Giant the opposite lane.
I love the play. Goblin Cage is back in cycle, but very, very little elixir. So you see this High Fisherman going to deal with the Hunter. Should be able to get the Brawler, will he? Bar Barrel pushes it back for a second. Yeah, not really going to be able to. Maybe just a bit of an overspend on the barrel, but was able to get another shot.
And now Ghost on the board will again demand a response, so we'll see if this sequence looks much like the last one. Of course, Lucas not wanting to give up shots this time around.
Yeah, really, really frustrating for Lucas because this starts to really mess up his cycle. Now you see Fisherman out of cycle. RG is already one card closer for Samuel, and that's something that Sam's going to really want to take advantage of as this game goes on. How can he make his opponent get his best responses out of cycle before the Royal Giant comes down?
So finally, Lucas does get on the board as we go into double elixir time. Snowball cycle to the left and gets his Mega Knight up high on the right.
To remind you guys, this is match point. The winner of this match is going to be our third team going to World Finals. So you talk about pressure for the young man in Lucas. It's got to be through the roof right now.
Knows he has to win 2 in a row and then go to King of the Hill. So you have to wonder how much of that is on his mind or if he's just staying focused on the moment right now.
Playing pretty great defense and going right back on offense is Lucas. Gets a fireball in and a poison.
Mega Knight getting some good splash damage on the tower, and just like that, Lucas is back in the lead with a decent amount of elixir, but now has to deal with stuff in both lanes here. The Royal Ghost Hunter to the right, the Royal Giant to the left.
Yeah, Royal Giant to the left. You see the Fisherman there now walking back behind the tower, resetting. An odd interaction there for the Fishy Boy, but does pull that barb away. 15-18, 13-20 top of your screen, basically untouched bottom left, and 17-22 for Samuel's right-hand tower.
Yeah, Fisherman acting like he saw a ghost, now going to go ahead and contend with the Royal Ghost. Doesn't get on tower here. And one more time, going to try to work on the left-hand side. Goblin Cage picks up the Royal Ghost this time as the Mega Knight leaps into Samuel's territory.
Yeah, and you see the spacing there done by Samuel, allowing that Hunter to avoid the lead, turn around, avoid the splash damage from the Mega Knight, but a poison comes in.
Final 90 seconds, 15-18 and 13-20 on Lucas's side, 15-38 down on the bottom right for Samuel.
Yeah, Lucas has got to get on offense. He doesn't have to quite feel the pressure yet. You know, 70 seconds is a long time in Clash Royale, but being down in damage and really having a lot of his damage come from a good Mega Knight leap means that Lucas needs to figure out a way to get about 500 more, 600 more damage on that tower before he starts the spell cycle race.
Well, the one benefit he has is that he wants to play in the right-hand lane, and that's the lane that Samuel wants to do, has more damage on. So this does benefit him in that stage a little bit. We'll see if he can finally get a graveyard down here in triple elixir, and he does. This could be a big one.
Yeah, and you see there the triple drop coming in from Samuel, looking for all of it. E-Wiz, Bar Barrel, Royal Ghost, Fisherman up high. 12:39 remains. He somehow still has the lead.
And Royal Giant to the left-hand side, going to require a response. Bar Barrel in front, so the Fisherman will not pull the Royal Giant yet.
Yeah, and just like that, Cage off the board. Royal Giant does get a heal, one shot in, does get pulled.
That shot doesn't really matter, though, Andrew. And here we go, Snowball in, Graveyard trying to get more damage. Can any of those skeletons get on? Poison comes in, and this might be a foot race won by Lucas here. Fireball going in the opposite direction.
Snowball.
Those ticks should be just enough, and Lucas wins this by a hair, 13 HP to keep Pain Gaming's World Finals hopes alive.
Oh my goodness! I don't know how he was able to do that. The damage mitigation on the left-hand side was absolutely superb, and you called it. That shot didn't matter. Lucas spent just enough to mitigate the damage to make sure he didn't give too much to Sam, turns it around, wins by 13 HP. His patience with the graveyard was absolutely immaculate for those 4.5 minutes. Beautiful, beautiful plays.
Well, the timing there at the end, Andrew, you saw that Lucas knew that he had the damage lead going into that final 8 seconds, and the only way that his opponent would get damage on tower was Fireball. He already had the lead. Poison does more than Fireball, and he made sure that all 8 of those poison ticks got down on the right-hand side.
And what Samuel does here is the correct thing. He still has to keep going in the left-hand lane. Obviously, this is very, very early on, but he didn't want to give his opponent an even bigger counter push on the right. So he needs to create enough offensive pressure to get defensive elixir out of Lucas on the left, but then still has to have enough to adequately defend on the right. And that's a lot to ask from this deck, especially when 6 of your elixir is going uncontested, or let's say 8 of your elixir when you throw in the Barb Peril is going basically unsupported in the left-hand lane.
Yeah, that was absolutely huge. And you saw that poison came in at the exact moment it had to. Any delay from Lucas in that moment, and we have a Space Station game win, match win, and trip to World Finals. So Lucas, in the most stressful moment of the day, getting things done right. We're going to game number 3 of this 1v1 set. Again, match point for Space Station, but Lucas now maybe a bit more confidence going in to this very, very important game.
I mean, 100%. He knows that if he picks up this win, he gets to sit back and say he did his job today. Now I got to rely on my squad to bring home the king of the hill. Yes, he can go back out there. I mean, that's the other exciting thing for Lucas, is that he played so well. Technically, if he's able to take this set, he has earned himself one more life and obviously one more set to try to get to Worlds. So here we go. Lucas, Samuel, Brazilians, game 3 in this BO5. Let's go.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And some kisses coming out from Lucas. Of course, these two guys certainly have plenty of experience against one another, both 2 young stars out of their country, maybe the 2 top players out of Brazil. Very possibly you could say that. Of course, Surge TS might have some arguments about that one, but these guys certainly know each other very well, and Lucas looking like he's going fast cycle.
Yeah, and Sam looking like it might be going back to the well.
I was at 3.0 out of Lucas here.
And a great heal spirit. Gonna allow this Royal Ghost to come on through. Gonna demand just a little bit more out of Lucas, but you see how cheap everything is.
And there you have it. It's gonna be Expo for Lucas, so guy who's known for 2.6, gonna go 2.9 plus 1.
And Samuel could be in a really good spot here, running Royal Giant again, most likely.
Royal Giant, and then the Royal Ghost is kind of a critical part about that one to deal with some of those buildings in the middle potentially. So we'll see how Samuel ends up using that as time goes on. Lucas going to really slow play this one.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he needs to do. He needs to just sit back, hang out, and just kind of see if his opponent creates an opening for him, and if not, he knows how to defend with this deck.
Hunter cycle to the right-hand side. Final 90 seconds of regulation time. And so far, no significant damage. Couple hundred HP done to the left-hand side of Samuel's towers.
And this is what we're going to see. We're just going to see a lot of cycling in the back out of both these guys. Samuel's going to make sure that his heaviest unit is always in play, or always available to be in play, I should say, for when that Expo does come down. And then for Lucas, there it is, Royal Giant comes in. For Lucas, it's going to be all about playing these defenses so efficiently that you are able to get enough on the board for a great Expo up high.
And no hits for the Royal Giant. Very purposely and properly done by Lucas so far, pitching a shutout as we go into double elixir.
Yeah, both these guys at 10. Now you see the Expo defensively going to come down. We'll see what Samuel has for that spell-wise.
Samuel going to set up opposite lane. The Tesla will come down in the middle when the Royal Giant gets closer. And just a little bit of spell cycle chipping away on the left-hand side.
And a high Expo on the left-hand side, going to eat through that barb. And now we see a Hunter getting cycled into the second Expo. That's not what you want to see. Royal Giant down just in time. Building a city is Lucas, but with all the answers is Samuel.
Yeah, that barb barrel out of Samuel on the Ice Spirit, what seemed a little bit out of time, because you kind of want that barb barrel to penetrate and get on the Expo, and we'll see if that comes back to bite him. Right now, though, still holding on. 2002 on the left-hand side as we go into sudden death.
Yeah, Lucas has been doing a great job just getting spell value in where he can with the logs and fireballs, and nice timing there on the heal spirit, but still making it really difficult to break through with this Royal Giant. You see the perfectly timed log in conjunction with, of course, the Tesla and the archers. It's a lot of DPS.
Tesla down one more time, and we'll see if Lucas goes back and defends the same way. The Royal Ghost goes right by, so forces out an extra Ice Spirit to control. Final 90 seconds. Lucas in the lead, fighting for his team's playoff hopes.
Yeah, Lucas is doing a great job here. He misses the Fisherman with that Fireball. Not going to be detrimental, but Samuel needs to figure out a way to get this Royal Giant on tower, and he's going to try once again here. You see a high bar barrel getting caught by the Skeletons, really brilliantly played, and then another Tesla down with the Expo supporting. This is perfect by Lucas.
Yeah, the second Tesla was really, really nice out of Lucas. Great control, going to end up taking no damage there. Here we are going into triple Elixir, and Samuel far, far behind. It might not seem like it, only 372 HP, but in this matchup, that is a mile.
There you go, bar barrel in again. Royal Ghost behind, just trying to get anything he can on top of that Tesla. Perfectly timed log again with 2 Knights and Archers. This is impossible for Sam to break through.
This is what I talked about, Andrew. We're talking about deck selection for Lucas. Play something that lets you react rather than think. And I love the choice here out of Lucas. He's playing it perfectly. And if he can go do this for 25 more seconds, they'll be going to King of the Hill.
And Sam is also doing a great job of evolving and figuring out ways to break through. Misses the Fireball there, I believe, and that is just going to do it. 15 seconds left. Lucas is firmly in the lead. A lot left in the tank for him defensively, and of course going to be able to cycle back around again. We're going to King of the Hill.
Yeah, there's no way to win this one in a spell cycle race for Samuel. Lucas with a great reverse sweep in this 1v1. We're going to the third and final. Andrew, I told you at the top of the show, if there was any way for Pain Gaming to win this one, it was going to be going to King of the Hill.
I mean, this is huge. This is absolutely huge. It felt like that 2v2 set was where Pain Gaming actually had the best advantage against Space Station just because they've been playing so very well there. But they turn around and they surprise us in head-to-head play today. Great stuff out of Sweep and Lucas.
Yeah, and I think that's the big one. I mean, Lucas, great grit to come back in this one and not let the nerves overtake him. Good deck selections there. But you got to go back to that set number 2 with Sweep.
Yep.
Sweep coming through in those moments, getting that Game 3 win. That's the linchpin for this overall match for Pain Gaming.
Yeah, and with Lapacati running minor wall breakers 3 games in a row in that first set, you wonder if we're going to see, you hope to see something different out of him in King of the Hill as you expect to see him there. And I mean, we could watch this replay, we could watch any replay. They're all the exact same thing, guys. It's beautiful defense from Lucas with perfect logs, perfect Teslas, and great Archers. And as the late game comes in, it's really important to recognize, yes, RG as an offensive card in triple Elixir, you're going to feel like it's harder to deal with, but you see the cycle that comes out from Lucas. He's got, on the very last push that comes in, I think he has, we're seeing it right here. Archers are down, Skeletons are down, 2 Knights are down, second set of Archers are going to come down as well after this Ice Spirit. There they are, Fireball in. It's just beautiful. It's just exactly what you want to see if you're a fan of Expo.
He knew he had one job, which is don't let the Royal Giant hit tower.
Yep.
And look at where we are, going to the final seconds. There's no Royal Giant never touched either one of those towers, right? All of that is coming from other sources. Huge performance by Lucas. He did 2 things great there. Kept the Royal Giant off the tower, and he played those Skeletons at the exact time they needed. They got behind the bar barrel rather than giving the bar barrel value. Just brilliant play by the young Brazilian.
Yeah, really good job protecting that Tesla up high no matter what Sam did. You saw him go bar barrel in, you saw him fireball it, you saw him send in the Fisherman plus the bar barrel and the Royal Giant, just not able to get there. And that's what happens when you really sequence your defense perfectly. And that's also what happens when you play a deck that is essentially your comfort deck. It's really hard to break through. So Lucas doing everything for Pain right now, 2v2 and in 1v1. Obviously, don't pick up that 2v2 set, but still playing very well. And we're back to 0-0. How is this possible? How is it possible we've been through 4 sets and it feels 0-0?
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But again, like this is what Pain Gaming. I'm surprised they got here this way. I thought they'd get here by winning 2v2 potentially and then picking up one of the 1v1 sets. Picking up 2 1v1 sets, that's big. That's huge for Pain Gaming. Taking out Lapacati, taking out Samuel. This is not how anyone thought they'd win this one. So here we are, King of the Hill, and Andrew talking about lineups. You know what's going to come from Space Station Gaming, right? You know what it's going to be. Lapo, Samuel, RF in some various order. The real question for Pain Gaming is, do you bring Sweep back out after that big-time performance, or do you put Wallace in, who hasn't played any head-to-head games yet today?
Man, I think you go sweep. I think you start off with your guy that's confident. He's been sitting back, waiting. I bet he's ready to go, chomping at the bits. The big question is, can they stop the God RF? He has been indestructible when it comes to Pain Gaming and head-to-head play. You saw what he did in that 1v1 set, and you saw what he did in their very first match when it was King of the Hill. They got to figure out a way to take down the God RF.
Yeah, that's always the hard question, and the big question will be: does RF come out early, or does he come out somewhere later for this King of the Hill set? He's often been a middle of the set player because it's after 2v2, but this time he's had some rest, so we'll see if they miss up their lineup and all. Man, this is a big one. You got to feel like Space Station Gaming, they've been here before many times. They know what this feels like. I cannot imagine what the guys from Pain are feeling right now.
Yeah, Pain Gaming, I mean, you talk about the pressure. I mean, we thought that they had it put to them throughout the first 4 sets, but now King of the Hill, like I said, it's back to 0-0. You know exactly what they're going to see, and they know how well their opponents perform under pressure. That's the other thing. So they've got to figure out a way to just stop it. And wow, they actually end up seeding sweep and bringing Wallace, Vitor, and Lucas out for King of the Hill.
I don't hate the move. Andrew, Wallace is a talented head-to-head player, has some really great performances on ladder, great performances in some smaller events, and he hasn't burned any decks yet today. So whatever he's been prepping for this week, it's fresh, it's ready, and I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out here and gets one win.
All right, so fresh-faced Wallace. We haven't seen him since that 2v2, which felt like yesterday at this point. Now going up against the God RF, seeing if he can get a little bit of revenge.
Yeah, that would certainly be a big one. If they can get RF out of the way, Andrew, this momentum suddenly swings tremendously towards Pain Gaming.
So you see there, 10 elixir leaked from Wallace and 10 elixir on the board for RF. 11 if you want to be technical about it, so surprising there.
And that Mega Knight gonna not leap, but get put right in there. Snowball trying to keep some of that DPS off of the Mega Knight. This is going to be a decent amount of damage here, Andrew.
Yeah, that snowball actually kind of hurt the God RF because it pushed the Hunter and the Fisherman out of the leap from the Mega Knight, so maybe would have been able to stay alive for just a second longer, get a little bit more damage in, but because of that, RF is now 4 elixir down with an Ewas on the board that should be really easy to deal with.
E-Barbs come in, Cage should pick up, and they do both turn towards the center as we pass the midway point of regulation time. It is Space Station's the God RF ahead 20-65, but that's not going to last with this E-Barb hit.
Yeah, 2 E-Barb hits coming in, bringing it all the way down to 17-12. They really hurt now with that big buff.
Yeah, it's you think, I can let one go, and then every time they swing, you go, wait, oh, ugh. That's not what I was expecting.
I know, even the fact that the swing is slower, but just so much more damage. It's incredible. That's all they needed, and now they are firmly in the meta.
Healthy Fisherman now for RF. We'll see if he puts something in front of it. Ewiz going to keep that RF, that Fisherman in Stun City.
Ooh, that's a lot, though, to feed to this Mega Knight. And E-Barb's plus Fisherman's going to be great DPS. And that Heal Spirit going to come on top to really help mitigate that poison. And he misses the snowball. RF's in trouble.
Yeah, that snowball was a real problem. E-Barb's now just running roughshod through the middle. Royal Giant all over the tower. Fisherman, this is a GG well played here. Wallace coming out getting a big Game 1 win, and King of the Hill barring something crazy happening in the next 22 seconds.
I mean, that was brilliant. You saw the overspend on RF, and then you saw Wallace, the recognition of it in his mind of going, all right, he overspent. I can sequence this perfectly. The best thing he has is a Hunter up high. Let's get a Fisherman down. RF calls good game. And now Space Station Gaming is in trouble. This is the one guy, the one player on Space Station that they could just not seem to figure out his number in head-to-head play, and he's now done for the day.
Yeah, that's massive. This is a massive win, and Wallace came in, no looks, like all of his matchups prepped, all of his decks prepped. Great call here from Pain Gaming, and he did, look, if Wallace gets more wins, great. He did the most important thing. He got his one King of the Hill win and got RF out of the game.
Yeah, RF now down. Lapo and Samuel going to be up, and here we go. Let's look at this first sequence. The Bar Barrel up high, the Mega Knight in. Look at that snowball. It pushes them just far enough away so the Mega Knight leap doesn't come down. That means the Fisherman's alive just a little bit longer,
and the Heal Spirit came in on both of those. So you talk about fortune, and that was about as fortunate as it gets for Wallace, and then here you go. He recognizes where his opponent's at. He knows how much he's spending here. This is going to be easy cleanup to turn into offense.
Yeah, Heal Spirit just gives everything back, and the Snowball only hits one E-Barb, and this was just already a ton of trouble. Barbarian Barrel comes out, knows exactly where the Goblin Cage is going, and at this point, RF has no Elixir. Wallace has pretty much his entire deck on the board. That's GG well played.
Yeah, the high Electro Wizard coming down to try to mitigate and stun some of that damage gets pulled away by the first Fisherman on the board. Second Fisherman comes down to pull the Hunter away, and at that point, I think we all knew exactly what was going to happen. The writing was on the wall, as they say, and now, it's all going to be up to Samuel and Lapacati. Pain Gaming still has all three of their representatives, and I don't know if this is exactly what Space Station thought would happen coming into this final set.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not. I think they thought they'd be out of here in 4 maximum, and now we're going all the way to King of the Hill, so not what they expected. And the big question for me, Andrew, going in is how are Lapo and Samuel mentally right now? Where are they? Where's their focus? Lapacati had so much swagger in match number 1, and it got a real damper. A bucket of cold ice water poured on his head at the end of that first set. Samuel, similar situation. So I'm very curious to see what they come out with here in King of the Hill.
Yeah, I mean, this is where their experience really needs to come through. This is where that confidence, that mental fortitude, and also literally just not being a rookie. You've been here before. You've been in high pressure situations before. These guys have got to come through for Space Station Gaming. Yeah, it's really great to make playoffs, but it doesn't matter if you don't get to go to Worlds for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's everything. It's everything that matters entirely. And you got to feel like a lot of this is on Lapacati right now. Career win rate and King of the Hill, that's 66%. He's really great in this spot. Samuel hasn't been phenomenal in King of the Hill. 46% win rate. I mean, it's not a bad win rate, right. 13 wins, 15 losses, but it's one of those places where the Samuel of ladder hasn't ever quite become the same Samuel in CRL. So this is going to be a big test for him today.
Yeah, I agree. And this is where he really needs to show up for Space Station. He struggled in his 1v1 set. It felt like he was able, I mean, it really felt like he was going to bring it home there in game number 2. It felt like it was going to be over, and that's what Space Station needed. Now it feels like Nerves is back in both squads' hands, and if anything, Nerves are there, but momentum is definitely in Pain's favor. You look at that big set win and now the first game win at King of the Hill, and it feels like everything Space Station Gaming has accomplished has been erased.
Here we go, game number 2, King of the Hill. Wallace still on the board. Another Brazil versus Brazil battle between Wallace and Samuel.
And Sam going to start with splitting wall breakers here.
So wall breakers very popular at the moment for the Space Station players. 4th time today we've seen it out of them in head-to-head play.
Ice Golem Hunter down, looking like he's going with a similar deck that we saw from Lapacati.
And Samuel bopping out the RTJ version of the Mega Knight emote.
I'm just going to be really nice and slow to start here, no surprises. And good job for Sam. Sam's got to create dual lane pressure early on in this matchup. It's really important for him to get a lot of damage in single elixir. Make sure that his opponent is not able to adequately put a big push together in single.
First minute away, and at the moment it is Samuel in the lead, 2046 to 2190. But as you were saying, Andrew, the deeper this goes, the harder it's going to be for Samuel as graveyards and poisons begin to fly.
And Wallace needs to, look at what's happened today and go, okay, no problem. If he gets damage in single, no problem. If he takes a tower in single, no problem. Just got to stay with it. We've seen some incredible turnarounds from Pain Gaming today.
And this should be a pretty good minor wall breaker push here. Requires a bit of expenditure. Doesn't connect, though.
Yeah, gets 6 elixir out from his opponent.
And that's a big part of this deck, Andrew, is forcing your opponent to spend more than you are.
Yep, exactly. And if you can get them to do that over and over and over, mistakes beget mistakes, but also elixir deficits compound. And against wall breakers and that dual lane pressure, if you overspend on one side, you will feel it on the other.
That's a smart E-Wiz out of Wallace there, Andrew. You'd think, hey, the cage is there. Why not let the cage do its job and save the elixir? but he's keeping that Fisherman on the board as well. So, little heads-up gameplay there out of Pain Gaming's player.
Samuel going to cycle E-Barbs in the back left-hand side to meet that Brawler. Has to deal with the Mega Knight on the right-hand side. I was just going to say, you got to imagine a Graveyard is going to come in.
And the Spear's mostly out of the poison range, so this is really good
for
Samuel at the moment.
Yeah, the Spears were mostly
Just
out of poison range, but Skeletons were on top of them instantly. That was really, really lucky for Wallace.
And a huge Mega Knight leap on the right-hand side as well, so what was looking pretty good for Samuel has suddenly turned into a lot of problems. 664 remains on the right-hand side. Not going to take a lot for that tower to fall.
My goodness, Rich. I mean, we are seeing something incredible here out of Wallace, looking like he's going to take down the first 2 players from Space Station Gaming in King of the Hill in this BO5 set. After losing the 2v2, this is astounding.
Good fireball there out of Samuel. Does he give up the Fisherman touch? 664 still on the right-hand side. And wall breakers again to the left.
Oh, a high Ewiz. Brilliantly placed Ewiz actually gets one shot in on top of those wall breakers. E-Barb's at the bridge. Samuel is getting desperate.
And that's a ton of Mega Knight value there,
man.
Andrew. So now Mega Knight going to go into the left-hand side. Ewiz and Fisherman on the right. The Miner comes out to work, but now he has to defend a rough defense against this Graveyard.
Yeah, you know the poison's going to come in. Even if he doesn't lose the tower here, which he most likely will, this is going to be a ton of damage. Wallace, 2 up, 2 down. King of the Hill. Pain Gaming, 1 game away from World Finals.
This is absolutely crazy. I have to imagine that everyone over on Bruno and Deco's side in the Portuguese chat is going absolutely insane right now, Andy.
Yeah, this is incredible from the young Brazilian squad. Pain Gaming has truly, truly been a Cinderella story. As you said at the top of the show, 1 and 3 going through their first 4 matches of the season. Since then, they've been essentially perfect. They lose match 9, of course, to Tribe because of TNT's incredible sweep. But this is absolutely amazing for Pain.
Yeah, this is huge. This is absolutely huge. Wallace with 2 wins. You know, if he completes the sweep, it's legendary. Either way, he's done more than his job. And this was it. This was the end right here. Check that out. You see, the Spear Goblins played low enough, not in the poison, but as you said, Andrew, they just get completely decimated by these skeletons.
Yeah, there's just not enough DPS to get through that Mega Knight, and what happens when you got something taken for those skeletons? Well, we all know how much DPS those little Larrys can do. They eat those Spear Goblins alive. Mega Knight still gets the leap to tower, and in that moment, I mean, even before the Mega Knight got a leap in, Samuel knew the game was over. You cannot get that much damage back.
Yeah, this was brutal. The Mega Knight was so difficult to deal with, and you know, Pain has gone to Mega Knight in head-to-head play a ton today. And it seems a little strange for Space Station Gaming to keep going with decks that struggle with a Mega Knight.
Yeah, you know, the Wall Breakers deck is really, really excellent, but it's also pretty high skill cap when you talk about playing it against these pros. They know how you want to get to tower, and they're also going to be a lot better at keeping track of your cycle than the average ladder player. Even the top ladder player is still not a CRL pro a lot of the time. So you talk about taking advantage of cycle and elixir deficits, it's very difficult to do at this level.
Man, it's so crazy that this is where we are, Andrew. And Wallace with, I mean, we talked about signature victories. So far, signature wins today for Sweep with his huge one that really is the reason, I think the main reason why we're here.
Yeah.
Lucas coming from behind with that grit, and now Wallace with a chance to put a feather in his cap. A King of the Hill sweep over Space Station Gaming to clinch a berth to World Finals would be a career-making moment.
100%. I mean, you talk about a guy that will all of a sudden have this massive accomplishment on his resume for Pain to want to re-sign, for other squads to want to look at, or just to brag about online. Picking up a sweep in playoffs would be huge for their 2v2 guy. I am so impressed by Wallace right now.
So now, Andrew, we're looking at Lapacati, who, you know, is obviously one of the greats of CRL, had that amazing rookie season. When it comes to King of the Hill, though, 23-12, a good win rate of 66%, only one sweep in his career. He has not gone all the way through since the fall of 2019. So this is a big task in front of him.
You know, and Rich, I gotta say, and not to be a negative Nancy here, but you look at Lapo's face, and that is not the look that you like to see if you're a fan of Space Station Gaming or Lapacati. He looks nervous.
He looks like he's, I don't want to say frustrated is the right word, but I don't think he likes the position that he's been put in.
Yeah, I think you mix that with how his set ended, and Lapacati does not seem to be in a good mental position, and you see right there. I think Lapo might know the matchup and feel like this is over.
I know. I mean, right? Literally sees the snowball and then the goblin cage come down, and he closes his eyes for what felt like an eternity.
I don't know what... If Lapo wins this game, and right now that feels like a big if, Andrew, if Lapo wins this game and I'm trainer Luis, I'm calling a timeout and using every minute of that to talk to my player.
Yeah, and that's a really bad goblin cage out of Wallace. He's really going to help his opponent right here. Iwa's still behind. Now Iwa's going to get back on offense. Graveyard going to come in and tank for the Electro Wizard. This is a good moment for Lapacati.
Archers trying to get the Electro Wizard off the board. They will. Not as much damage going to come through for Lapo as he would have hoped, and you see he goes back and scratches his neck there and kind of wishes that maybe things had gone a little bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, Wallace is still in the lead here from what he did early in the game, and honestly, if you're Wallace at this point, he's like, I don't even care if I lose. I know he wants to win, but he's already done so much for his squad. The pressure is gone, whereas Lapacati, you can feel the pressure through the screen.
Yeah, this is really tense at the moment. Andrew Lapo setting up Fisherman Cage to the left-hand side. Wallace goes with Miner just for a bit more chip and right to the back, knowing he's not against NATO.
Evas comes in for the negative trade, and of course going to be one of his best defensive cards now out of cycle, just going to go off to the fray.
And Lapo might just eat the barb shot on the right-hand side and set up for the left. Yeah, going to take two here. 1740 on the right-hand side as Mega Knight goes to the left-hand lane.
Problem is that the deck Wallace is running, it just can create so much pressure. There you go. So Lapo eats those shots to want to sell out on offense, but now you see he doesn't have enough elixir to actually get the graveyard down. Really great job by Wallace.
Watch the graveyard maybe going on the right-hand side, though. No, he's going to give pressure in both lanes, force Wallace to make some decisions, and good high defense from Wallace on both sides.
I like everything that I just saw. Just like you said, great defense there from Wallace. I like that Lapacati wanted to reset. You saw him cycle the Hunter in the back in the middle of all of that kind of going down because he's recognizing what he needs to do. And he's not going to win the battle by just getting 10 elixir at the bridge. He needs to get about 15 to 20 elixir crossing the bridge.
And now you have Mega Knight tanking for the graveyard, just eating all of that minor damage as Lapacati trying to put the pressure on the opposite side. 1084 remains. Can he break through here? No, perfectly played by Wallace. Balloon in.
Yeah, balloon in, cage behind. Miner going to go inside to meet that Hunter, but he goes to the front of the Hunter, so it's actually going to help with that balloon, give that Hunter just a little bit more value.
Final 90 seconds. About an 800 HP lead for Wallace right now. If he can hang on here for just a minute and a half, Pain Gaming is going to World Finals.
This is that moment where if we were at Studio Rich, you and I would say, you could hear a pin drop in this room. This is crazy, my friend. You see the nice high miner there to keep the leap of the Mega Knight from crossing the bridge. Doesn't want that tank to get across early on. He gets the archers cycled in the back. Playing in the future is Wallace, and that's exactly what he needs to do. He needs to play incredibly defensively.
Momentum starting to go maybe a little bit towards Lapacati here. Snowball trying to work on the back end. Ewiz and Fisherman now behind the Mega Knight.
Yeah, that Ewiz going to stay alive. Fisherman still there. Healthy Barb up front. Now the graveyard comes in. Tanks are there. Lapacati might get this game back.
Yeah, there you go. That Snowball not doing what Wallace wanted it to, and suddenly a huge lead swings back towards Lapo.
And there you finally see a slight smile come out of Lapo, now feeling a little bit more confidence, a little bit more wind in his sails. High Mega Knight should seal the deal because Wallace is not going to be able to defend and get damage on that tower. He's got to pick one.
Yeah, Bar Barrel goes in. The Hunter, though, not connecting with that balloon.
Gosh.
Not connecting with that balloon. Oh my word! Oh my word!
Oh my goodness!
Pain Gaming's going to World Finals!
How on earth did he not stop that balloon? You can see Lapacati is devastated. Oh my goodness!
Oh my goodness. What in the world just happened? It felt like Lapacati had things completely taken over, and you can see he is absolutely devastated. Wallace King of the Hill sweep to send Pain Gaming to Shanghai, China.
Oh my God. 5 red wins in a row. It all started off with a brilliant takedown in the final 1v1 set for Pain Gaming. Lucas breathing just enough life back into his squad. So guess who comes out? How about the sweep? The guy that picked up the first 1v1. Nah, man. We're going back to Wallace for a 1-2-3 knockout in King of the Hill. Spacestation Gaming. We'll see you in 2021.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. You see, the defense works on the right-hand side, shuts things down, and this was that great defense out of Wallace, and this might be one of the most important moments of the game, Andrew, because you see no damage gets through on that right-hand side, and just how close this was in the end.
Watch this exchange. The miner goes up high. The balloon is right behind it. The hunter's up front. Brilliant cleanup by Lapo. So what does he need to do for the rest of the game? How about just rinse and repeat? So this is where we start to see the tides shift a bit. Honestly, the fact that Wallace didn't lose this game right here is astounding to me. I have no idea how he was able to hang on.
Yeah, and maybe it's that graveyard being like with a tile high, potentially, not entirely sure. I'm a bit surprised here, Andrew. Maybe it was a cycle issue. I'm a bit surprised we don't see the cage come out when this balloon especially comes out to the middle. Why aren't you caging to the left-hand side to get that balloon completely away from your tower? Instead, check this out. The snowball out of Wallace. That is a match-winning snowball as you see the hunter get stuck too far away while that miner is tanking.
The E-Wiz comes down. The high balloon in the middle of the map is something you never see unless they're going for a spawner building. That's usually the only time you'll see it. On a furnace, on a goblin or barb hut, you'll see that high balloon just to get a good trade, get that spawner off the board. But he plays it up high to avoid the E-Wiz and to allow time for his miner to come in and tank. That was god tier level play out of Wallace.
Just brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
I'm absolutely stunned, Andrew. Completely, absolutely stunned. I mean, everyone except for the 2 Brazilians were picking Pain Gaming, and they might have picked Pain Gaming out of solidarity more than anything else. But the young rookie squad that started off against so much adversity, 1-3 to start the season, having a match vacated, had to fight their way to even be in playoffs, is now going to World Finals.
I know, and what a way to do it. We essentially go the distance in every set other than the most important ones. Just incredible stuff from both of these guys. I mean, definitely a heartbreaking moment for Space Station Gaming, and now you're wondering, did they really want to match up against Pain? Who knows? I mean, that wasn't up to them to decide, and now we're going to go to our second match of the day, but we've got 3 teams going to World Finals with Tribe, SK Gaming, and now the Brazilian squad of Pain.
Just absolutely insane. A full team effort, really tough game in 2v2, sweep with the massive 1v1 win. Lucas coming through big, Wallace all the way through. Pain Gaming's going to World Finals. Don't go anywhere. We have another World Finals match coming up in 5 minutes. Back for another break time battle. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a win on Roger Lopez's side and currently a 0 on Canario's side.
Yeah, I mean, apparently if you rock that SK tag, you're going to pick up a W. So Canario right now struggling to keep up with SK's Roger Lopez.
Knight in the back, and it looks like, Roger Lopez feels like he's really going for it. Sees this as a big opportunity. Canario, Giant Skeleton Firecracker. And oh boy, how's he gonna handle this?
Yeah, Giant Skeleton Giant Skeleton Spear Goblins here in the back. He goes Hog Rider left-hand side, and honestly, he deals with it really, really well. No spell comes in to get on top of those Spear Goblins, and they help play cleanup.
That's a lot of, oh boy, pressure with the Mega Knight on the left-hand side. Will it go all the way in? No, delivery comes out. Roger Lopez with a little GY cycle, bye-bye Muskie on the right.
Yeah, it was a good recognition there by Canario to go in with that mini P.E.K.K.A, but the problem is that Royal Delivery is such a great counter with the shield. Coming right on top, going to be a good trade.
So first minute away, and so far, Canario is back in the mix. We've seen this Giant Skeleton Hog Rider thing kind of come in and out it's so curious. You know, we've been in this league for a long time. Andrew Giant Skeleton was much maligned, and then it started coming up in 2v2, and then after that spring season of 2019, where suddenly it was everywhere, it seems that Giant Skeleton is firmly planted in a not overpowered but still valuable place in the 1v1 meta.
Well, the best thing about it is when you have enough elixir, and that becomes very easy in double and triple, is that it can really play catch-up. If you make a mistake, you give too much to your opponent, they get a massive counter push in, you just drop that Giant Skeleton up high. I think a lot of pros started to recognize how much ground they could gain back with that one card.
Delivery comes out, but a half step late, and that's going to be a mini P.E.K.K.A. going all the way behind, and bye-bye to your tower. SK's Roger Lopez, or SK Roger Lopez. I don't know if you're officially involved or not. But either way, you shouldn't let many P.E.K.K.A.s hit your tower. That's generally a bad idea.
Yeah, unless you're trying to give away pancakes to the entire audience, which we're all about, so maybe that's what Roger Lopez is trying to accomplish since he picked up game number 1. Definitely going to drop game number 2 here with only 38 seconds remaining. Graveyard being his win condition, and Canario being his opponent.
You know, I gotta say, Andrew, I'm a waffle guy. And if there's one thing I think that Supercell needs to do in 2020 or 2021 is add a new member of the P.E.K.K.A. family who's all about waffles.
I like it. I like it. I personally am a French toast guy. A little bit of challah bread in there, game over.
Ooh, strong call there. 15 seconds left, and right now Canario just sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying the fruits of his labor. We're going to do a game number 3 here, folks, and honestly, Andrew, at this point, I have no idea what to expect.
I don't either. That was a really good back and forth. Canario was pretty dominant throughout game number 2. Roger Lopez, though, was firmly in control in game 1. I guess we got to come back for one more break time battle. Game 3 coming your way.
Here we go, the third and final game. Canario in the most important game of his life up against SK Roger Lopez in what honestly is just another day for him.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, Roger Lopez is just used to winning. That's all he does. That's all he did last week. That's all he's going to do moving forward. He wants to take Canario down here. He wants to get that contract, man. He wants that signature.
Hog Rider to the right-hand side, and yep, you had to expect that. The Canario was sitting on something of that ilk. Tornado pulls things in, and that's a nice little early King Tower activation. And Andrew, I mentioned this the other day on broadcast, but I'll mention it one more time. For those of you who don't know, without a King Tower activation, a Hog Rider uncontested gets 7 hits. With a King Tower activation, that's down to 4.
That's massive. It's a really huge trade. That's about 1,000 HP difference when you're talking about ladder. It's just insane.
Hog Rider in with a bunch of things behind, but the elite barbarians, I know I said Electro earlier, but guys, come on, don't you know a joke when you hear one? There we go, Lumberjack to the right.
I actually love that new interaction with the E-Barbs, that they can take down a Hog Rider pretty easily, 100% mitigation by just dropping them in a good spot. Quick reaction.
You'd think that 6 Elixir would do that to 4.
Yeah.
That kind of feels right. So that's the second time Hog goes to the King Tower. Andrew, it hasn't happened very often. In fact, it's happened to almost never.
I've already got him on my fantasy team. I'm going for the triple.
Yep, exactly. Roger Lopez going to sneak on through and get a King Tower kill without barely touching the Princess Towers. That's my prediction here, and I think it's 100% accurate.
I don't understand how it couldn't happen. Oh, a missed bar barrel there from Canario. This is trouble. This is all trouble.
Oh boy, well, I guess a Princess Tower is going to fall, unfortunately. Ugh, what a boring way to win Clash Royale, but what does Roger Lopez have for a Golem and Elite Barbarians? Oh no.
He's got a log and skellies. That's trouble. That's a lot of trouble. He overspends on the front end, gets the P.E.K.K.A. down. Feels like Canario is still firmly in the lead here. Now 3 more elixir goes into the fray.
That NATO was so filthy.
Yeah.
I know it was the play he was going to do, but when you actually see it happening, you're just like, oh, because you can see it building. You're like, oh no, man, that firecracker's not going to do what you think it's going to do. And then a NATO comes and says, ha 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 ha, game over.
Yeah, we saw Roger Lopez drop a lot into. I mean, we saw mini P.E.K.K.A. go down, skeletons, and ice golem, firecracker, all of it, all bad.
So here we go. Hog Rider going to go down. Mini P.E.K.K.A. and the Elite Barbarians going to do a little face-to-face fight. And now you got a Lumberjack, a Baby Dragon, a Golem, and a Heal Spirit, which will have nothing to do with anything. There we go. Second Lumberjack. Oh my gosh. It's going to be
a complete
decimation of the forest.
Yeah. you know, Canario kind of teases Roger Lopez here by giving him game number 1, but a dominant performance in games 2 and 3.
That's it for break time battles today. What a fun one. Canario with the 2-1 win. We'll see you guys back here for more of these next time around. Well, if that wasn't enough for you, and I don't know how it wouldn't be, guess what? We've still got more Clash Royale playoff action coming your way. Another match and aside, a World Finals berth. Andrew, is there any way that Queso and Cream can top what we just saw?
I don't know if my dog or my neighbors will survive through another match like we just saw. I just screamed so loud that I jumped out of my chair. That was one of the best matches I have ever seen in my entire tenure of watching Clash Royale League. It was incredible. It was such a great back and forth. And of course, the Cinderella story continues for Pain Gaming as they're going to be making their way to World Finals. But now a very different matchup as we saw both squads coming out expecting a lot out of all 4 of their players. Now with Team Queso that has relied heavily on Ruben is going to be different when they face off against a Cream squad that has been doing it with all 4 of their guys every single match.
Yeah, Cream's done a good job of mixing things up, and this gets interesting because this is another situation where you feel like Cream should have a very significant advantage in the opening 2v2 set. It all comes down to, can Ruben and JP clutch things up in those 3 1v1 sets? Let's get to it. Our second playoff match of the day. Team Queso against Cream Royale Betis for a shot at Worlds.
Como les había dicho, esto es otra final. Y lo que tiene bueno esta final es que 2 de los equipos que apostaron desde el día 1 en Clash Royale, uno de ellos va a avanzar y va a estar representándonos en Shanghai. Ha perdido 2 veces consecutivas. Pondrán orden hoy y dirán, ojo, somos el 2 contra 2 favorito de todo el público. Quédense con nosotros y disfruten de este gran partido.
La verdad que el partido de los hispanos, podremos decirlo, si bien sabemos que hay una mezcla en Cream, es un partido muy fuerte para el mundo hispano, muy importante para nosotros, y lo que es relevante de este partido es que justamente de acá va a salir uno de los autóctonos de Clash Royale, sea Queso o sea Cream, 2 clubes que nacieron con el CR y que quieren demostrar que tienen la jerarquía para ir a Worlds con esta victoria.
The opening set of this match seems like it should clearly go to Cream Royale Betis' Michifu and Diego E. But then we get into head-to-head play where you have to face Ruben, then IMJP, then Ruben again, and maybe those 2 one more time if we go to King of the Hill. The big question for Team Queso is, will this wait finally be too much for Ruben, their young star, when the shot at World Finals is at stake?
I actually give the nod here to Cream, but that's only if they can stop Ruben, which is a lot easier said than done. Cream Royale Betis has had a pretty strong 2v2, pick up the win in 2v2, stop Ruben where and when you can, and take the best 3 sets available for Cream to move forward into Tribe.
Cream Royale Betis contra Team Queso, ambos times falantes da língua espanhola. Vamos ver quem garante essa vaga para o Mundial.
Team Queso contra Cream Royale Betis. A Team Queso aí foi mais regular, a Cream Royale Betis acabou caindo no final também. Bom, mas o jogo aqui acho que vai ser muito equilibrado, achado no jogo anterior. Então pode ser que dê o time da Team Queso.
On one side of things, you have Team Queso that for a minute looked like they might get an automatic berth to World Finals. Didn't end up that way, and then Cream Royale Betis benefiting from some close tiebreaker action at the end.
Absolutely. Benihoo and Kuchiku most likely going to be the 2v2 duo coming out for the choosing ones today. IMJP undoubtedly will be picking up at least one of those 1v1 sets as well as popping up at King of the Hill. And then the guy right there, Ruben, the key to victory for Team Queso, needs to go off against CRB.
On the other side, you have the 2v2 duo of Diego E and Michifu, who started off the season looking like absolute world beaters, and They've had the wheels come off a bit on the back end. They will need those two to show up today. And then you have Belican and Pedro. Pedro was meant to be the 1v1 star. Belly has stepped into that role very nicely. We'll see if they both end up coming out in those second, third, and fourth sets today.
Yeah, Diego E and Michifu really need to turn things around. They've lost 4 of their last 5 2v2 sets. So knowing that Benny and Kuchi have struggled more this season, this is a must-win set, it feels like, for Cream Royale Betis. Expecting to see Ruben twice in those 1v1 sets. Let's get into game number 1. We'll talk through our bans in just 1 second.
Bans are Giant Skeleton and Tornado, and no big surprises there. 2 popular cards to get rid of in 2v2. Andrew, you were talking about the 2v2 of Diego E and Michifu. They started off the season with 4 set wins in a row, but it was all against mid-tier 2v2 or low-tier 2v2 competition. Once they stepped up against the big boys, it was a very different story.
Yeah, they lost to Tribes, Azilius, and Bookmag. SSG's RF and AC, Morton and Sam, and of course Diego B and Pompeo. Even though Chivas was not very dominant this season, they were very, very good in that 2v2 set.
On the other side of things, Kuchi and Benny went 2 and 6 as partners in 2v2 this season. So, been a rough one for them as well, but if they can steal 2v2 from Cream Royale Betis today, that sets up Ruben and JP beautifully in the head-to-head play.
Yeah, I mean, that is just massive. And you see already right there, kind of a misplay. I see that they're going for the snowball on top of the balloon, but I don't think the balloon was really that much of a threat yet, and they missed the snowball on a lot of those skeletons. Now you see Mega Knight coming across, Lumberjack tanking, and just not much for Benny and Kuchi.
First minute and a half away, and so far a pretty significant lead for Michifu and Diego E. Lots of damage on that left-hand side. Not too much on their side of the board.
Yeah, it was just, honestly, it felt like that snowball was just not where they needed it to be. Just get it a little bit lower, get it on top of those skeletons. You already had the Hunter up high to deal with the balloon. I really don't think the balloon would have made its way through, and honestly, at this point, the balloon would have done less damage.
Balloon Graveyard in now for Team Queso. Baby Dragon and Dark Goblin working on the graveyard portion of it. What will Queso do about the balloon? Late bomb tower, but that's going to go down. Snowball trying to stop a connection, and somehow it does.
Yeah, I don't know how Cream was able to stop that balloon connection, but I really have to applaud what Benny and Kuchi did at the river, keeping that Dark Prince off of their Electro Wizard. They got a good heal spirit in, a great log as well to keep assisting that Mega Knight, and that's the kind of stuff that Benny and Kuchi are going to have to do if they want to win this game. They just saw that Cream allowed them to do it. Now they need to take note and rinse and repeat.
Overall on the season, Cream Royale Betis 5-4 in sets, 13-12 in games. Firmly right in the middle of the pack when it comes to 2v2 performance this year, and that log not going to touch the Musketeer, and now a big counter push coming in.
Yeah, that was real ugly. They should have stopped. They should have let that push die about 10 seconds before they did, and they're going to be able to defend this pretty well, but it just really felt like they overspent on the last 2 cards coming in, and just because of that, you see this balloon is going to get death damage.
836 to 1260. The left-hand lane has been almost all the action. You do see some chip away on the right-hand side. Here we go. Graveyard in. Mega Knight deep in enemy territory, and that's a big light.
That's a huge lightning. Mega Knight's going to walk onto the tower. Ewiz comes down just in time. Kuchi and Benny spending down to 0, essentially, just to stay alive. And this Fisherman working on those Ewiz is going to be really difficult. 385.
Yeah, at this point, all it's going to take is one good defense out of Cream Royale Betis, and they should have game number 1 pretty well locked up. The clone comes in from Kuchi and Benny.
Goodness,
Can they get anything there? No.
Nothing comes down in front of that Lumberjack. I mean, that's where the communication, when you're standing right next to each other, you got to use your communication. If you want to sell out on that push, maybe you can take the tower, but you have to at least spend the elixir to let you see what happens with that push. I mean, they didn't even stop that Lumberjack. Now that clone balloon push just is like, all right, well, wonder what would have happened.
Yeah, I was so focused on the offensive push, much like they were, that none of us, Coochie, Benny, and myself, none of the three of us were paying attention to what was happening in the opposite direction.
Yeah, it was, and it's just one of those things you've got to pay attention to. They did a really good job of kind of pre-setting up this defense. You get the Night Witch in the back, the Fisherman gets pulled away. That was another problem, is that Coochie and Benny were not giving enough respect to the Fishermen that were coming out from Michi and Diego. And that also is right here. Fisherman pulls both of these guys in, makes easy work of them. And now we're
forcing out the snowball. Yeah, and here we go. So this is that final sequence, and this was a lot. The clone had a chance here to make some things get dangerous. Of course, you do see the bomb tower is going to be in a pretty good spot overall for this, but that Lumberjack just slides on through. The late Heal Spirit doesn't pull the Lumberjack, and that's the end of the game there for Team Queso.
So I was looking at the elixir of Benny and Coochie, and I was just wondering which one of them was going to get to 3 first, because if one of them was able to get to 3, they would have been able to at least stop that Lumberjack for a second. I didn't realize the Heal Spirit was already back in hand. If he plays that Heal Spirit lower, and it distracts the Lumberjack, and then he allows his teammate to get his 3 elixir in to get that ground unit down, that Lumberjack doesn't take the tower, and maybe the balloons do. That's really where the communication has to come into play. If we both say, hey guys, or hey buddy, I'm low, what are we gonna do? You Heal Spirit, then I'll do this. That's what needs to happen. Obviously it happens instantaneously, but you gotta do it to win 2v2.
So what we expected, a Game 1 win from Cream Real Betis, you do feel like this is very, very important for Cream in that they know that they have a tough out with them in front of them for Ruben and JP. Man, Coochie and Benny, though, it's one of them is going to have to come out if they make it to King of the Hill, and you really feel for them in a situation like this one where they just have not been able to get on the same page all season.
Yeah, it really is. And when you talk about this being a must-win set for Cream, you have to imagine Ruben will take at least one of his 1v1s. So that's kind of what you have to game plan or strategize as you move forward throughout this BO5. Let's hop into game number 2 here. Diego E and Michifu with 1 in hand.
Feeling pretty comfortable so far are Diego E and Michifu, and we've talked about it a fair bit, but Michi coming into Cream as a head-to-head specialist, a top-tier ladder player, and making the switch over to becoming a 2v2 player for CRL has really meant everything for this squad. And they might have limped into playoffs, but a big part of it was Michi kind of eating his pride a little bit and becoming a 2v2 specialist for this team.
100%. And what that did was it allowed them to kind of explore with their other guys to see how well they could play in head-to-head. So then you got that cool thing of Belican and Pedro kind of trading off 1v1 sets because Diego and Michi had done so much for Cream in the 2v2.
Raged up Dark Prince, gonna go ahead and try to get to the E-Wiz. Not gonna happen though. First minute away, and so far no significant damage.
And Dark Goblin stays alive. Will get 1 shot in unless it's dealt with. Here goes 2 shots in.
I keep bringing it up, Andrew, but Michi got first on ladder as recently as this August. So the transition into 2v2, especially when Belly was thought to be the 2v2 guy, given what he was doing during his time outside of CRL, really speaks volumes to sort of the growth and maturity of him as a player.
Yeah, 150%. And you look at where he's at this season in head-to-head play, you know, he's 7-7. If you're 50%, 7-7 as the 2v2 guy, that's a great place to be in head-to-head play.
So here we go, final 10 seconds of single elixir time, and a little snowball there to potentially predict a unit coming out against the Baby Dragon. It does at least slow down the tower, though, and now the first big chunk of damage done in this second game.
Yeah, and Benny and Coochie really need to just get in rhythm and figure out a way to create any sort of offensive presence. They didn't do a great job of it last game until the very, very end, and it's kind of the same thing this game. It feels like they're just playing from behind the entire time.
Heal Spirit gets a little bit late to the front. Fireball in on the Musketeer and Fisherman. Snowball to finish those off.
Yeah, nice Fireball, Snowball, and now we see great Mega Knight, Rage, E-Wiz, Graveyard, Balloon. Beautiful push.
Snowball a half step late, maybe a bit out of position, so that Balloon is going to connect, and just like that, this game is going to take a huge swing towards Team Queso.
Yeah, Benny-Hoo and Coochie-Coo doing exactly what Team Queso needs. They're going to pick up a big-time Game 2 win, and that's exactly what I was talking about. I was saying how they hadn't ever seemed like there was any
urgency to get on offense. So what do? They decide to go all out at the bridge right then and there after playing very, very nice, patient defense.
A big win for Benny and Kuchi, but this is a lot of this has been the story of the season, Andrew. They haven't been blown out a lot.
Yeah.
They've lost a lot of 1-2s, so this is going to be a big-time Game 3 for them and for the overall confidence in Team Queso.
And you know Benny and Kuchi need to win this set in their minds because they most likely think that they're probably done for the day unless they go all the way to King of the Hill if they drop this set. So they know this is the moment for them to shine for their squad. Get this 2v2 set, then let IMJP and Ruben do their work in head-to-head, and then they'll worry about Tribe.
Mega Knight in the back, and this is all going to protect the EWIZ fairly nicely. And I'm trying to remember which sequence this one is. And this was where the Heal Spirit comes in just a little bit late. And yeah, this is where it all starts to turn towards Team Queso.
Yeah, you see this great Fireball plus Snowball coming in up high, going to clean all that up. The Lightning does come down, but just not a lot of value with that Lightning. You want to get just a little bit more out of it, or at least something maybe a little bit more threatening. So the Balloon comes in, but at this point, that Mega Knight is just still tanking for everything. Skeletons, Balloon, Skeletons tanking for the Mega Knight. Dark Goblin's there, but just not enough damage and way, way too late. And a beautiful push from Benny and Kuchi. That's what I like to see. A lot of units crossing the bridge, good support behind, Graveyard on the back end, Balloon behind. Excellent.
You saw a High Hunter there get eaten up by the Rage push as well. The Balloon went right on past it. The EWIZ took it out, and next thing you know, that Balloon really, they had to overspend to stop the Balloon, and they didn't have enough Elixir for both the Balloon, the Mega Knight, and the Graveyard. So GG, well played. We're going to game number 3. The big question now is, can Kuchi and Benny clutch this one up and set up their star, the arguably, they're really not even an argument, the best player of this fall split, for a much easier road in those 1v1 sets.
100%. That's what Team Queso needs. They need this Benny and Kuchi duo to step up right now, take down Diego E and Mitchie, because again, you imagine that Mitchie's probably going to pop into King of the Hill, or excuse me, into the 1v1 and in King of the Hill. So if you can take him down in that 2v2 set, which already we give the favor to Cream, and you're able to get in his head just a little bit to support Ruben or IMJP when it comes to that 1v1 set, this is big time for both these squads. Let's go to game 3.
As we mentioned, Ruben does have the top win rate on the season, 77%, followed very closely by Morton at 76%. And a lot of that has been just clutching things up in King of the Hill and 1v1 sets. He certainly is capable of carrying, but a little help from Benny and Kuchi would not hurt here. First 30 seconds away, and not much has happened yet.
Goblin Cage going to be met by that High Musketeer. Nice timing on that Heal Spirit.
Seen a ton of Mega Knight today, Andrew.
Yeah, it's been basically the big tank of the day.
So Fisherman will pull all the way in. Lumberjack not going to be in the range of the Mega Knight on the Team Queso side, so that's certainly helpful.
Yeah, that Dark Prince getting pulled in, actually pulling that Fisherman away, is going to be a nice thing here for Cream. Now you're going to see, yep, a high unit drop by Kuchi and Benny. They're going to go with a Mega Knight once again.
Bomb Tower and Snowball, not the expenditure you really want on that Mega Knight defense. And they're still going to take a leap from all of that. And this is the difference. You know, we talked about Michi and Diego E really being a big part of why Queso got here. It's little things like that that separate them from the top tier duos.
Yeah.
Where whether it was a cycle issue or a communication issue, you know, you're spending 6 Elixir on 7 to still give up that leap. That's not what gets you to the promised land.
Yeah, you need better spacing. You need to just do something differently there, and I completely agree with you. And that honestly is a moment for Benny and Kuchi to sit back and go, okay, this is good. This is good. This has now fallen back in our favor. As you can see, they've got clearly the damage lead, and now it feels like they probably have the Elixir lead with what's on the board. Ewa is going to be in a really nice spot to help out. That Hunter isn't going to take any of that Fireball, but a Lightning plus Fireball do come in from Cream Royale Betis. A big-time spend.
Yeah, they just couldn't get that EWIZ off the board, Andrew. They fireballed it in closer to the balloon's path, and couldn't get it out of the way, and now they're facing another raged up push the opposite direction.
Yeah, raged up Mega Knight, if you guys just completed that challenge that came through in-game. Those raged up Mega Knights, it's insane how fast they move, and that's really when you see the DPS come out from them.
Split E-Wiz is here. One of them does get touched a bit by a skeleton, so maybe an opportunity right now for Cream Royale Betis to take them both off. Fireball would do the trick, not going to happen here. And now a bit of a counter push coming opposite direction. Mega Knight to try to set the line against the counter play of Team Queso.
Yeah, I love that double E-Wiz high cage to mitigate most of the damage from the graveyard and the balloon up top. Really, really nice placement there from Benny and Kuchi. Nice fireball in there. Dark Prince is going to get off the board. Benny and Kuchi really fighting for it, looking like the Benny and Kuchi of old.
Lumberjack will be sufficient to play cleanup there. Final minute 35 seconds. Cream Royale Betis with a slight, ever so slight lead as we go into the final minute of play very soon here, and a good lightning out of Cream.
Yeah, good lightning out of Cream. We'll see if Benny and Kuchi want to take advantage of how much elixir they just spent with not cleaning too much off the board. Good Log going to come in to clean up that Dark Goblin. And that Mega Knight's really, really healthy up high, Rich. Well, it was.
It was for a moment. They're doing a good job of DPSing it down, and this time the Log does get the E-Wiz off the board. High Lumberjack to stop that Dark Prince. The Lumberjack does not go down yet, and the Heal Spirit keeps it alive a little bit. Snowball,
the freeze is in.
Coming in.
Benny and Kuchi have this.
Word.
Oh, that is...
Team Queso takes the 2v2. Andrew, all bets are off.
That is a massive, massive win for Queso and a huge, huge blow for Cream Royale Betis. Now you've also got one of your head-to-head guys in Michifu who could be a little bit tilted, but more importantly, you had the set that Team Queso struggled in the most throughout the season just go in their favor. Now you got IMJP and Ruben most likely twice, fired up, ready to go, set in hand.
Yeah, I mean, this just took such a huge swing towards Queso, and you got a feel for Cream, but we were talking about it, Andrew. There were a couple exchanges there that, and in particular, that 6 elixir spent on the Mega Knight to still give up damage.
Yeah.
We were just looking at Michi and Diego E, and they were not on the same page.
Yeah, this is exactly what you're talking about. It's a great placement on the bomb tower there to make sure that Mega Knight doesn't actually leap to the bomb tower, but then the snowball coming in that early on, obviously you understand what they're doing when it comes to damage mitigation, but maybe just a better card choice was what Michi and Diego needed in that moment.
Yep, that's exactly right here, Andrew. And you can see that it starts just becoming this big amount downhill where the spell value on the side of Team Queso is getting better and better, and the spell value on the side of Cream Royale Betis is getting worse and worse.
Exactly, and a big part of that comes from Benny and Kuchi doing a much better job than they had this season of spreading out their units and not giving a ton of spell value. And the other thing that we saw not very much of this season was this brilliant sequencing of their offense. I mean, you look at how they put that together, the patience to wait for that long to worry, before they get out either of their win conditions in a fashion where they were actually looking to take the tower other than just kind of poke and prod their opponent's defense. Huge win for Benny and Kuchi, and honestly, they could probably just hang out for the rest of the day unless this goes really poorly for IMJP and Ruben.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people have been really hard on Benny and Kuchi, us included, this season. But, you know, you can lose all the 2v2s you want during the regular season. If you win the 2v2 that puts you that much closer to World Finals, that's the most important one. So, you know, I know the whole Team Queso organization very happy right now about the job these two just did. And now it all comes down to what do Ruben and JP do in the 1v1. On the other side, Andrew, Cream Royale Betis in a really difficult spot. They have 3 talented head-to-head players. But is there any specific matchup that they like today?
Well, you first of all have to make sure that you are able to guess which sets Ruben's going to come into. So most likely, since he is going to come out twice, you go, all right, that means he's in the first 1v1 set and the last 1v1 set before we go to King of the Hill. So then we got to start thinking about those matchup. Who matches up best against Ruben going out of the gates with just 1 set behind us, or who matches up better against Ruben when it might come down to match point later on. These are all things that you have to take into account if you're Cream Royale Betis. So much of these mental mind games really factor into these BO5s.
Well, we're not going to see Michifu come out in this first one, so it comes down to Pedro and Belican. And Andrew, between those two, given the performance this season, you got to feel like Belly might be the better one to be in late when there's high pressure.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Belly has been really, really lights out this season. Pressure doesn't seem like it's been getting to him. Let's get Pedro out early on where there's low pressure and see if he can pick up that set win. Then he can build that pressure for later on. If you do need him again in King of the Hill, that could be an excellent position for him to be in. So I agree. I think you go Ruben against Pedro in this opening 1v1 set, but we're not the coaches. We're just up here talking about it.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. Excited to see, we're going to see a lot of Ruben today.
Yeah.
We'll probably see him in at least one set, potentially two sets, potentially 3 whole sets, which is, of course, one of the most entertaining guys out there. The big question for me is who they put in against JP in that second set, right? Do you throw Michifu in there against JP? I think that's a good matchup for Cream Real Betis, but then the other half of it is Belican, who could play well there. I don't know, Andrew. What do you think? What do you like better in terms of that second one?
Well, it looks like we were correct in calling Pedro out first against Ruben here. It is really tough when you get to the second one. I think you do go Michifu. I really do. He's proven to be able to do it in head-to-head play. IMJP is just a little weaker than Ruben when it comes to win percentage, or at least what you expect out of him in head-to-head. I think that's the way you go.
Let's go ahead into it. It's going to be a good one. Miner out quickly for Pedro, who has been a long time one of the big talents out of Latin America, a top-tier Venezuelan player, winner of the Breng Chong Cup earlier this season, represented his country very well in CR Nations and the World Royale League, and is still looking for that signature season here in CRL.
Yeah, he really does need that just little cherry on top of his career to kind of put him up in that top tier of players. He's so close. Everyone knows he has the skill. Now he just needs the accolades.
Well, talking about accolades, Andrew, there aren't a lot of accolades left for Ruben to win except for a CRL championship. Individual #1 finishes in tournaments, the Orange Cup, Moreno Cup, Breng Chong Special Edition. There's so many different places where he's come through, not only as a winner in solo competition, but in team as well.
Yeah.
The one left, CRL.
And you and I, we were told by Koji and Manu, Deco, Bruno, like when Ruben joins the league, he will be the best. Everyone was saying that online, everyone, and it took him a season to really get his kind of feet wet and find his footing, but they weren't lying. He is absolutely one of the best, if not the best.
Well, what he did on a No Tilt League Special Edition to go ahead and clutch up the championship for Queso earlier this 2020, 29-13 in games there. It was unbelievable. And then here, he's 24-7 on the season, Andrew. That's completely bananas.
Yeah, the only guy that's been able to actually beat Ruben in a 1v1 set this season is Hobby. That's it. Otherwise, his losses have come from King of the Hill.
This will be very interesting, Andrew. I believe we saw this exact same matchup earlier today, in fact. This Loon Cycle deck against this Mega Knight Graveyard deck with both Hunter and Ewiz, and you feel like the Graveyard deck wins this one, except for Cycle.
Yeah, exactly. That Cycle is something that Pedro's really going to have to take advantage of as this game moves forward, and Ruben just doing what he needs to brilliantly, not overspending right now, making sure to change up his placement on where he likes to put his Hunters, where he likes to put his Ewiz, also changing whether it's going to be the Ewiz or the Hunter. And, Pedro doing a good job of looking for those units, but Ruben making it very difficult.
Death damage will get in on the left-hand side for Pedro, 1926, but as you see, the significant lead right now for Ruben in the top right-hand side, 1469 remaining. Graveyard in as we go into sudden death.
Yeah, that Electro Wizard getting tanked for on the left-hand side by that Brawler made it so that Pedro had to spend just a little bit more on the left-hand side. Ruben sees his opening and goes Graveyard on the right.
All it's going to take, Andrew, for Pedro is one big-time connection. One good balloon sneaks through, snowball, makes just enough room for it to sneak on for a connection. But that's going to be very hard to do as we get later and later into this game.
Yeah, there's just so many predictive plays that have to come into that. You need to get your miner in the right spot. You need to make sure that snowball comes in at the exact right time. The balloon is untouched as it works its way down the lane, but really difficult job for Pedro, especially with Ruben getting in another nice Graveyard on that right-hand side.
Well, a difficult job to do specifically against Ruben as well. And you see the Mega Knight or the Mega Minion trying to come in and predict the Hunter high. Instead, Hunter goes low this time. This is that kind of snowball, though, Andrew. The Mega Minion might distract, forces the E-Wiz out. That is not insignificant damage.
No, it is not, and that's exactly what Pedro needed to do. You saw there Ruben had to sequence all of his defensive units one at a time, so he wasn't able to actually get as much damage in on that balloon early on, which leads to that death damage. So now we see the punishment of the cycle starting to pay off for Pedro. Oh, this is it.
Oh,
That's
Mega
done.
Knight does not go to the bomb tower. Oh, no. GG, well played. Ruben takes game number 1.
I mean, it already looked like way too much to deal with, even with the Mega Knight and Graveyard coming in. You missed the pull with the bomb tower. Pedro calls good game. A really great back and forth there. But Ruben, doing what he does, picks up game number 1.
Yeah. No, it's just, it's exactly what he needed to do for Ruben. What I don't like there from Pedro is I know you want to switch lanes with the balloon, but giving any opportunity to build up onto that weak side tower.
Yeah.
You're already under 700 HP. You throw balloon into the tower where you're defending, and next thing you know, you're just giving your opponent the chance to really push there.
Exactly, and a big kind of evidence of that is you see what's alive behind the Mega Knight on the right-hand side. You see the Hunters there. Whereas anytime that Pedro went all out with a balloon push, it would demand the Electro Wizard and the Hunter out of his opponent in the opposite lane. Then those units aren't there to support taking out the Mega Minion and the Knight, which you saw a lot come out up high from Pedro. So just not creating offensive pressure with getting the balloon down and getting out that Electro Wizard and Hunter makes it so that push is more successful on the right-hand side.
This is a great moment for the balloon. This is what you want, the snowball to get the Hunter just enough away from the balloon to create some damage. The E-Wiz comes out and does save that tower connection, which was really, really huge. But then here we go, Pedro going right into the lane he's trying to defend.
Yeah, I don't love the high bar barrel there. It's not the best play, but you understand what he's doing there. And then you see this, it just becomes too easy of a defense with the cage and the Hunter there, and now you've got this massive push coming across the bridge and no presence on the left-hand side of the map. That's the problem. You need the presence to be on the left-hand side of the map and just a little bit on the right, so that, as you're saying, Rich, you can't give him that big counter push.
So right now, 3 games in a row for Team Queso. Ruben could make it 4 and then give themselves match set, potentially with this one here. It's interesting. Pedro is a very talented player, for a long time considered a top-tier player. He just has not been at his best form this season.
Yeah, it's really tough with Pedro, right? When you talk about what he did in Bren Chong and you saw the names that he took down and the way that he played there, it was beyond exceptional. Whether it was Wi-Fi issues, visa issues, CRL has always been a bit of a struggle for Pedro, and now it seems that he's finally gotten the rest of it locked down. It's now his gameplay that he doesn't have control of.
Here we go, jumping into game number 2. Ruben with set point and a chance to put his team one step closer to Shanghai, China.
And a high Hog Rider to start things off. Ruben probably going to go Hog triple spell.
An easy King Tower activation there for Pedro. No damage on the tower. And Ruben saying good game. And he knows he's probably up against Graveyard here. And this is a brutal matchup, especially when your opponent has Tornado in opening hand.
Yeah, I never want to see that when you're running Hog Rider. And now we know Pedro most likely just going to go with classic Graveyard here. Although we have seen these cards coupled with other win conditions at time. We've seen them with Graveyard. We've seen him with Royal Giant. Golem and Royal Giant.
Interesting wrinkle here, and this is going to be very difficult for Ruben to deal with, goes with the Archer's low, Skeleton's high, is Ruben running this with the Hunter in the mix. Yeah. Very, very curious, and that's going to give him some good opportunities to stop those Baby Dragons high.
Yeah, the Hunter is just one of those cards that just comes screaming back into the meta when you talk about single target DPS and high DPS win conditions that are very squishy in things like, Lava Hound, Royal Giant, Hog Rider. Hunter is exceptional against all those cards.
And Ruben's just spell cycling early here, wants to be as far ahead as he can when this gets into double and triple elixir. Going to be a tough out. Knight should come up in front of this Hunter.
Yeah, and it's also about him controlling his cycle, right? He needs to make sure that the cards that he wants in cycle are there and that he isn't carelessly cycling away units he'll need or elixir he'll need.
goes Knight low to set up the opportunity for the Hog Rider to get through. Earthquake will do some work on the right-hand side, in particular on that Ice Wiz as well. 1778 on the right-hand side. Ruben in a pretty good spot, but now we hit double.
Yeah, and Pedro being above 1500 HP, he's got to feel a little bit better about that. No, now obviously dual lane pressure is not something he has to worry about yet coming out from Ruben. And so we'll see how Pedro wants to start getting these offenses down on the board. He will have a hard time winning bridge battles.
And this time Ruben goes with the Knight high. Skeletons working on the graveyard along with those archers as well, and Poison not going to be able to help, so this is very, very good for Ruben.
Yeah, really good for Ruben. There you go. Earthquake coming in again. Hog Rider may get a hit unless another unit comes down, so there you go. The Knight does come down to help out.
Ruben staying ahead beautifully right now. The question is, how long can it last? Bomb tower being used. You know, we talk about varying defense. Andrew Ruben's doing that beautifully so far. That Knight trying to sneak all the way back does help out just a little bit. 1898 remaining, about 650, 670 HP separating these two. EQ adds a bit more to that gap.
Yeah, EQ adding to that gap, and then we get a high bomb tower here. The idea here is that when that bomb tower goes down, that bomb's going to go off and help clean up all those units, and it's also going to help set the line. So here we go. Bomb's going to go off, should help Ice Wiz and Baby Dragon. Oh, no, Ice Wiz just far enough away. Bar Barrel does go down, though.
That Hog Rider played as a tank was probably the best part of that defensive sequence, Andrew. Ruben had to try to hold everything up high as long as he could to let the bomb tower do DPS and then again pop at the correct time. But things are getting very, very difficult. Pedro playing this well at this stage. Ruben trying to pull out all the stops to steal this win.
Yeah, and that's actually a really, really nice play there by Ruben. Now not a ton of elixir in the hand for Pedro. So now Ruben can go up high with the Hunter and clean both these up. Really, really nice there. And he can get back to that spell cycle game that he loves to play.
This is absolutely perfect gameplay out of the Team Queso player. Final minute, triple elixir. And Ruben might be able to get a Hog Rider on tower here for a shot. Just barely doesn't get it done.
Now that could be a detrimental overspend for Ruben. He gets the line set high with the Knight, but a great NATO comes in by Pedro. Earthquake back down again, but a second Baby Dragon at the bridge with Graveyard. Oh my goodness.
Bomb tower trying to hold up high. Knight gonna distract as well. Poison working on the archers with the Graveyard. It is being tanked for by the Baby Dragon. Those two skeletons could take this thing for Pedro.
Oh my goodness, Earthquake is in, and the Baby Dragon belch comes down. Looks like they're trying to give that first match of the day a run for their money.
Wow, absolute wow. Again, Pedro won this one and clutched up big at the end. The game that Ruben played was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and the fact that Ruben never really even tried to go opposite lane because he knows how hard of an uphill battle that is. He was just looking to get his spell cycle value in with those earthquakes, with the logs. But my goodness, Pedro with an excellent late tornado. 100% HP Baby Dragon comes across the bridge, and that will do it. Hog Rider ensuing from Ruben, but just not enough.
Yeah, this was a really, really interesting match. You saw Ruben not feeling good about it at first because you see, hey, I know what I'm up against as soon as you do Bar Barrel and NATO activation. And Ruben says, good game here. Yeah. Didn't play like he'd already said good game.
I know. Honestly, it's almost surprising to see that out of him because he knows how bad the matchup is, but then he shows you how good Ruben is. This is incredible, and this was the Hog Rider kite that you love so that that bomb tower just gets a little bit more life out of it, and it really does. That Bar Barrel doesn't take it off the board now, allows it for this Hunter to come down and help clean up the Baby Dragon Plus. All things working out pretty well for Ruben, but if you look at the elixir, he's down by 3, and that Knight is going off to no man's land.
Yeah, the bomb tower did a good job. It was playing defense on multiple parts of the board, right? That playing defense against the Graveyard, against the push, and against the Baby Dragon in the air, but in the end, it was just too much. And this Hog Rider, if that Hog Rider gets a shot, Ruben ends up winning this
100%. He gets that Earthquake cycle back down, game over, but instead, that Hog does not get a hit. Ruben's still going for the Earthquake cycle. Now, not enough elixir to deal with the second Baby Dragon, maybe because he spent it on that Earthquake, and just like that, Pedro takes game 2. We're going to game number 3. It really felt like Ruben lost that game with a bad matchup, so I'd still feel pretty confident if I were him going into this final game.
Sure, but now we're getting into it's a best of one for this set, right? And we just saw a tough matchup, and Ruben played his heart out. But one thing that CRL West Betis has is as a good staff with a brilliant teammate in St. Belican, who I have to imagine is a part of these matchup conversations. Maybe Pedro's picking his own decks, but my guess is that Cream is conferring heavily on their matchup situation, and there might be some help coming in.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really important when you talk about these BO3s to figure out that matchup game, that matchup advantage early on. I mean, you saw, just like you said, Rich, how important that matchup was in this game number 2. Had he not had such a favorable matchup, he probably would have lost, because Ruben, like you said, played it picture perfect. So that's where the matchup game really, really comes into these BO3s. And that's why you'll hear pros complain about King of the Hill, but they love a BO3 because they feel like they can come back. So speaking of BO3, let's go to game number 3 between Ruben and Pedro.
Ruben splitting skeletons in the back, looking for something pretty quick again, and maybe going right back to the well.
Yeah, maybe hoping he's not going to run into the exact same matchup again and feeling like he has a pretty good advantage.
Well, not against Bomb Tower, so that's one significant difference for Ruben this time out. Pedro's Brawler will be taken care of very easily and poisoned down for the Venezuelan.
Earthquake down on the left-hand side from Ruben. Early cycle from him, and just trying to get that bar barrel in late, since the Hunter will be tanking for it. Maybe get him 3 hits instead of 2, but instead gets 0 with the log.
20 HP separating these two. Pedro cycles his Electro Wizard to the right-hand side as the first minute of gameplay passes.
Cycling archers in the back, maybe when he gets to 10. Oh, doesn't wait to get to 10, just goes ahead and pulls the trigger on the Earthquake.
Pedro, one of the few players who has played in a variety of leagues in CRL, started off his career in CRL Latin America, and then moved on to CRL Asia with Kick's team, and then now here in CRL West with CRL West Betis. So, globe-trotting so far for ex-Pedro.
Yeah, and again, the names that Pedro's taken down in his career, if anyone on Cream can do it against Ruben, I mean, Pedro is definitely a guy you'd be able to put your money on. This is huge. I mean, if he takes this set away from Ruben, then it will be a weird start with the 2v2 going to Queso and then Ruben losing the first 1v1. But all those things happening, I feel like it is a better spot for Cream to be in.
Sure, absolutely. We'll see a little bit of elixir leakage coming out from Pedro, waiting to get the poison down at the exact right time. But you keep an eye on this one, that Ruben's leaked just under 2 and just under 5 for Pedro, so about a 3 elixir and change difference now.
And it's also surprising when you see that Hog Rider come out as the 8th card, which means you know exactly what Ruben was going for. Spell cycle early on, don't give too much value away with just sending Hog Riders in. And now that the elixir is starting to flow a little bit more freely, maybe you can get those Hog shots in. Big time connection.
And there you go.
2 of them.
2 Hog connections, wow.
Mega Knight jumps right into that shotgun blast of the Hunter, and Ruben firmly in control right now, but he does have Graveyard as his win condition and a lot of ways to keep that Hog Rider at bay.
Here we go, heading into sudden death overtime. The spell cycle continues for the Spaniards, setting up with Mega Knight Fishman Brawler. Is ex-Pedro. Has not really found a great opportunity to put significant damage on the board yet. The bridge control has been phenomenal thus far from Team Queso's play.
Exactly, Rich. That play of the Hunter behind the Knight. Knight comes in up high. Hunter takes the Mega Knight off the board completely. It's just brilliant bridge management. And on top of that, protecting his Hunter. I mean, look at this. This is all Earthquake damage other than just a couple Hog hits.
You gotta wonder if at any point Pedro goes to the opposite lane. Has not been able to control the Hogs, and all this bridge fighting has done is create distractions that allow the Hog Rider to sneak through and get yet another hit.
Another big hit. Earthquake comes in as well. Barbarell's going to be up high, but it's going to be late. Electro Wizard goes down. Brawler unprotected, or basically, unsupported. And it feels like Ruben is just, it's over. 362 on the tower, gets the bomb tower down, a couple more spells, and we're going to be moving on to our next set.
Here we go, 86 HP remaining. It's this push or bust. Not gonna happen though. Log comes in, that's gonna be it. Ruben takes set number 2. And Team Queso is now 1 set away from World Finals.
Yeah, that is a big, big win for Ruben. Pedro did a great job, really able to put up a good competition, really give his opponent a run for his money, but Ruben, his management is just brilliant, man. It really is. You watch every little interaction he has, and you know, he puts space on the board you don't even think is there. I didn't think there was enough room to get a Knight down to protect that Hunter and not allow that Mega Knight to splash on any of the 3 units. Ruben did it. Brilliant stuff.
We'll go ahead and take a look at some of the replays in just a moment. Good choice for Ruben to just go right back to it. You know, it's one of those things where I guess he must have felt like Pedro wasn't going to run it back and instead would switch up in some way, shape, or form. Worked out for him.
Yeah, I mean, it is always tough when you kind of get burned by a deck and you got one more game ahead of you. It's really hard to go right back to it. But, you know, Ruben played that last game really well with a horrible matchup. I think this is exactly why, right? He sees a much better matchup in this game and really takes advantage of it.
Well, you know, that last matchup, and again, I have to talk about the psychology of it, right? Where Ruben isn't really concerned as much about what his opponent's going to play. He knows he can outplay a bad matchup if necessary, and this deck is one that can do it. And I think he had the feeling that Pedro wanted to be less predictable and was going to mix things up as opposed to go back to it one more time. So I don't know if this was a decision that he made on his own or one that the coaches made with him, but overall really, really sharp. And we got to see Ruben play some brilliant games back-to-back, a loss and a win, but both really educational if you're paying attention to the way he played this.
So now that question that you asked at the beginning of this, you know, these 3 1v1 sets becomes ever more important with who do you send out against IMJP? And it really does feel like now with this set being decided, 2 sets in the favor of blue and 0 for cream, you got to bring Belican out there. He's had great success this season. He's playing very well under pressure, and IMJP has been a little inconsistent. Belly needs to go out there, ideally get it done in 2 games, and move this along for cream to the next set. You got to take down Ruben at some point, and you got to get there by Belly coming through right now.
Yeah, that's a hard call there, Andrew, right? Because you have to win this match, this set, but you have to win 2 sets if you want to go to World Finals, of course, coming up very soon this December in Shanghai, China. And by the way, if you don't want to miss that, have you subscribed to the channel yet? Go ahead and hit that button real quick so that you don't miss those World Finals. If you want to get there, Andrew, it doesn't just start and end with this next matchup. You have to think about both this JP match and the Ruben match next, right? And I think that I like Belly against Ruben better than I like Michi against Ruben.
I agree with you.
So that's a hard call from a coaching standpoint.
No, that's a really, really solid point you make. And now that Michi's had enough time to sit back and maybe recoup from that 2v2 set, you do get him out, and that's a great call, Rich. Right on the head. Michifu going up against IMJP, saving Belican in the wings to come back out against what you have to assume is going to be Ruben in that last 1v1 set. Here we go. JP, bottom of your screen. Michi at the top. All blue all day in match number 2.
Michi going to Expo, and I'm not sure this is something that he's known for doing, plays a ton of it. And you have to imagine that Queso, from a deck pool standpoint, was preparing for Expo here at some stage. The question is, ooh, that fireball did not hit the Expo.
Yeah, that's a big miss there on the Expo. I really wish he would have been able to take that off the board. Now all the work that JP put in to preserve the HP of that Barb Hut goes right out the window with that one little misplay. So a lot of fortune coming Michifu's way early on, but as you saw it, IMJP does have a lot of great responses.
And now Michi knows Barb Hut's out of cycle. Go ahead and put it down. Fireball comes out easily. Doesn't get the heal spirit. Doesn't matter. Expo will be protected by the Knight here for a second. I don't know if it can connect. And yes, it does. Huge opening swing here from Michi.
And a beautiful Ice Spirit to come right on top of those Spear Goblins. It seems small, but it allows that much more damage to come in. And you know what? JP has to be tilted here already in game 1. We all know how it feels when an Expo connects early on. You already feel yourself in an uphill battle. So JP's got to slow things down, get that Barb Hut back on the board, and then stop playing predictable plays because, Rich, you called it. There was only one way for IMJP to get on top of that Expo, and it was the best fireball for Michifu.
Here we go, Pigs getting in deep, and Michi not playing Fireball this time, choosing instead to just use some troops to get those off the board. This is, again, probably a matchup that Michi's played a lot, and I'm wondering, I mean, obviously 3.0 Expo is everywhere right now. I'm wondering, if I were to guess who's played this matchup more, my guess is actually Michi.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, he's loved Expo for a long time. He plays very well with it. That's the reason why we've seen it in 2v2 from them. Not as often as some of their other squads like Pain, but...
And Expo gets onto the bar putt here. Log trying to work on that with some chip on the right-hand side.
Yeah, IMJP is going to have to do go back to what he was doing in the beginning, which is overprotect this barb hut, and then he needs to get a second one down going in the opposite lane. He needs to figure out a way to get more presence on the board, more board control.
Fireball cycled onto the Expo and the tower on the right-hand side as we go into sudden death overtime. About a 500 HP lead right now for Cream Royale Betis' 2v2 player.
There you go, Skeletons coming down to protect that hut. Barbarian's still there to protect. Spear Goblins up high. Fireball going to come in right on top. Heal Spirit does connect early on, but still a very healthy Expo on the board.
He might go ahead. He's going to let that one die. Notice that when Michi starts getting that high Tesla in the middle, we might end up seeing Teslas flanking the Expo on opposite sides.
Hogs at the bridge. Fireball comes in again. Michifu just really making it tough for IMJP to connect, and also making it really tough for IMJP to stack those barb huts. He knows exactly what he needs to do to win this matchup.
Well, he doesn't want to go. He can't go barb hut low either, because barb hut low is an invitation for an Expo connection. So he kind of has to leave it out there for the Expo to completely shred it.
Exactly. So he's got to get the barb hut down, then completely defend it from the Expo on the board somehow, get all the way back around and get another barb hut down just to start his offensive presence. And honestly, I think that's impossible to accomplish at this point.
Ice Spirit onto the Musketeer, and now you see Expo low onto the strong side tower coming out for Michifu. Log with the pigs trying to find some way to break through, and a couple of those Hoggies are going to get on the tower. There we go. Some snacks being had on the right-hand side by one pig.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you start changing up your defense a little bit. You see their Fireball doesn't come out that time. Royal Hogs do get through to tower. Royal Hogs in front of the Musketeer on the left-hand side. I don't really love that decision. It just seems too easy to clean up for Michifu.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Tesla does come in high, but two Expos down. Will one of them connect on tower? 1309 to 1110. Pigs trying to sneak on by. A second Tesla down. There's an absolute city on the map, and right now, spell cycle advantage goes to Michifu. Game number one, gonna go to Michi. A very important one. Life breathed back into the world finals hopes of Cream Royale.
Yeah, you can see IMJP trying to, and you see that he sticks his tongue out. He's gonna walk away. He wants to kind of cleanse himself of that loss. You can lose to Expo, and it's tilting, it's angering, whatever it might be. Fine, let it go. It was a bad matchup. That great Fireball early on with that Expo connection made it so it was pretty much impossible for IMJP to get through. He needs to just reset now and hope he gets a better matchup in game number 2.
Yeah, very, very well managed for Michi, and it's one of those things where you see the deck that IMJP is playing, and you're wondering if this Barb Hut deck at this stage has another tanky unit to control Expo. It doesn't, and this is the big problem, the big challenge for JP the entire way through. The only way to control Expo is the one thing he doesn't want Expo to completely destroy, and that's his Barb Hut.
Yeah, and you saw the Fireball there does come down actually on the Expo and the tower, but then this is that first connection. You see the way that IMJP is cycling, and you see how low his Elixir is. You know there's going to be a connection. It's just about how much does JP want to stop the bleeding, and how much does he spend to stopping it early on. So you saw the Spirit Goblins come down very late. Ice Spirit is still there to add a little bit more damage in for Michifu.
Yeah, and I mean, look at how close this ended up getting in the final 20 seconds. And again, it's going to be a second Expo connection, I believe, here. Or is it just a spell cycle? It came down pretty close at the end, but at this point when, Michi cycles his spells so much faster, if you don't have at least a slight health advantage at that moment, you're not going to win it.
Yeah, and you talk about cycling for IMJP. Skeletons, Heal Spirit, Spear Goblins, anything and everything that he could get down on the board. but those expos, those defensive expos, just really, really eat through your opponent's elixir. And when you look at someone juggling aggro from an expo for one elixir card to another one elixir card to another one elixir card, eventually they're just going to run out. And that's exactly what happened. Michifu recognizes it. Great connection early on. And finally, a little bit more red on the left-hand side of the screen for Cream.
So if you're Michifu, do you just go ahead and do Expo again? Do you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to dare you to play the matchup game. Come into my world.
I like it. I actually really like that call, and I like the way that you set it up. Why not, right? I mean, he's got a game to give. Let's see what happens as we go into game number 2. Does Michifu run back the comfort, or is he going to try to swerve JP?
JP splits skeletons high there. Maybe trying to protect against some hyper-aggressive play out of Michi, and
yeah,
it's looking like it's going to be the same thing again, unless he's going with Hogs, or with Hog Rider.
And this is actually a moment where I do worry a little bit for Michifu, because IMJP, I feel like, was maybe expecting him to go back to it. It does seem like a safe bet. You and I both liked the call. I bet the analysts at Team Queso probably thought the same thing.
Log cleans that up. You see the snowball, though, so not going back to it. It looks like it's going to be Balloon instead for Michi.
Okay, Balloon instead out of Michifu, and you see a little connection there on the left-hand side for IMJP.
I like the choices he played earlier as well, right? Feigning Expo a little bit, maybe giving JP a look to think that maybe he knows what the matchup is, and try to get him to make a choice early that he would make against Expo that he might not make against Minor League.
100%. That's exactly what you have to imagine Michifu was going for, and that's exactly why you see the deck choice come out. It's not an accident. Those were the first 3 cards cycled, and he wanted to see what JP would do if JP would make a mistake.
Miner in to protect the archers for the Cream Royale Betis player, but one Electro Wizard Bolt does connect and take one of those 2 girls off the board. Michi cycles log to the right-hand side.
Yeah, that feels like, you know, the first misplay of Michifu in this game 2 so far. Just a little bit high on that miner makes it so the Electro Wizard doesn't cross the bridge. Obviously nothing detrimental, but something you're going to want to lock down when you're playing against IMJP.
So a lot of damage that can get on this Royal Giant. That's going to be good fireball value, though, for IMJP.
Yeah, great fireball. Hero Spirit does come in, going to allow that Royal Giant to help with the bomb tower. Pretty easy defense, though, for Cream.
First 2 minutes away into double elixir time, and for the moment, the ever so slight lead for Michifu out of Cream Royale Betis, the Spaniard. Back in the lead after taking a short break from CRL, formerly, of course, played with Pain Gaming, who he would hope to see in the later part of the playoffs. It will require, of course, a lot of wins on both sides.
Yeah, I like what we saw out of Michifu and IMJP there defensively. Offensively, you see not much damage had on both sides of the board, but this is where that cycle of this Royal Giant deck really starts to come in. You know, this miner is being... Great heal spirit there. This miner is being pulled out regularly by IMJP to act as a ground tank because the only other option is the knight, and that's something IMJP is going to continue to take advantage of.
Yeah, you saw really great protection of the Ewiz there. Michi maybe should have gone across the bridge to get right on the Ewiz. Instead, the ability to use the Royal Giant as a cover and some log where it keeps the Ewiz on. And now you have a slight damage advantage for JP, 1878 in that left-hand lane.
Yeah, and I like the miner work here from Michifu, just getting 3 elixir out of his opponent. IMJP gets the Royal Ghost down. That Royal Ghost maybe going to demand, yep, he's going to go all in. Royal Giant, both lanes, Royal Ghost on the right-hand side up front. Great fireball.
And that's going to be some good damage on the right-hand side.
Giant taking for the Ghost, Rich.
Wow, 11:24 remains. Huge swing for JP as we hit into the final 80 seconds.
Yeah, that is a massive, massive hit. Great fireball comes in, cleans that bomb tower off the board. Royal Giant goes, Royal Ghost goes invisible, then comes back in for that RG to tank for it, and a huge, huge swing in Team Queso's favor.
Here we go, triple elixir time. IMJP with a very significant lead. Michifu needs to find some way through, needs balloon connections. Miner chip will not be enough at this stage.
Miner up high. looking to catch these defensive units like the Hunter, like the Electro Wizard, but it's still going to be so much responses on the board for IMJP, while that Royal Ghost is bringing that left-hand tower down to just about 1,000 HP.
Yeah, you saw Michi was trying to go for some trickery there, but this time the Miner does get to the Hunter, but the Fireball's going to help fine.
Yeah, beautiful defense here from IMJP. Only 23 seconds remain here for Michifu. Not going to be able to take game number 2, and this becomes really difficult when you look at the deck selection he has. He has to get a balloon connection or it's minor chip damage, and both of those things are very, very difficult to do when you're talking about playing against a guy like IMJP.
And you see the Snowball trying to do something there for Michi, but you know, when we saw this deck work, or these balloons work, Andrew, against Ewiz and Hunter beforehand, the Snowball was always pushing the Hunter or Ewiz, and a lot of times today the Hunter, to connect with another troop as the balloon escaped.
Yeah.
And we didn't see Michifu able to do that against these Hunters.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that was the way that IMJP played his defense. He would really wait till the last second before he'd get something down in response, making it harder for Michifu to predict what he was going to do. So back and forth, set number 3. Michifu takes game number 1. IMJP with this Royal Giant deck. Really nice control throughout with the balloon. Great cycle ability. He got RGs down on both sides of the board a couple of times, and anytime that happens, it's very, very, it really shows how low your opponent is in Elixir.
So here we go, Royal Giant to the left-hand side, and I believe this is going to be, and look at this, this was great work out of JP. A lot, he forced plays to work against that Royal Ghost, and the Royal Ghost was really maybe the MVP for JP, going after those bomb towers, sneaking away, hitting on Princess Tower, and that was that beautiful log play to keep the Royal Giant and the Heal Spirit coming in for the Ewiz. And look at that, Ghost almost escapes. This doesn't even do a lot of damage, Andrew. It just forces a ton of Elixir out from Michi.
You know, and Rich, I'm so glad you say that, because the Royal Ghost being such a pain for Michifu to deal with actually made it. So look at that right there. Look at where the Royal Ghost is. Miner has to catch it, and the bomb tower's there. Guess what's in place? Now we got a Fireball. So that Royal Ghost is making it so his opponent has to defend in places he doesn't want to. He's making it so he has to stack units in places he doesn't want them because of that new trajectory of the Royal Ghost. I love that you pointed that out, because it made that play there from IMJP exponentially better.
So a big-time win for JP. Andrew, we're back here one more time, but this time with Cream having their back all the way against the wall. IMJP has set and match point, needs to win 1 to send Team Queso to World Finals.
So this is where the issue of not bringing Belican in because you're thinking too much about the future comes into play. Yeah, I want Belly there to play Ruben in the third 1v1 set, but you gotta get there first. And without taking that 2v2 set, and I'm pretty sure these lineups were submitted already, you kind of have to assume, which is what Cream did. They assumed they'd take the 2v2, they assumed Ruben would pick up one of the 1v1s, and they assumed then that Belican would be able to come out and close things out in set number 4. Now, they may not even see Belly come up in their most important match of their season.
Yeah, I mean, this is really critical. Michi needs to get a big-time clutch to keep Team Cream Royale Betis alive. And as you said, it all hung on their assumption of winning 2v2. Heck, you and I assumed that Cream Royale Betis would win 2v2 today.
100%.
Taking that out of the board, suddenly you're playing a potential 3-set match rather than a guaranteed 4-set match.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, so Kuchi and Benny picking up that 2v2 win kind of ruined the entire game plan for Cream. Let's see if they can bounce back here in this final match point game of IMJP and Michifu.
Michifu gets aggressive with the Spear Goblins early. Archers in response out of IMJP. Michi may be going Mortar Skelly Barrel here.
Looking more and more like it.
It was one of the more dominant decks the first half of the season. Haven't seen as much of it in this later half.
Chip damage there from that Firecracker, and now Earthquake coming in, so IMJP looking like he's going back to Hog Rider.
Yeah, and that worked out fairly nicely. You're going to see a little bit of extra expenditure coming out from JP. Michifu going to have a slight Elixir advantage now. And a lot of that was just the Firecracker was so annoying to get off the board.
You go Hog Rider in, Tornado to activate. So we love this deck. It's going to be the most likely the triple spell
Mortar deck with Earthquake in there, and you know, a big part of this is going to be control. First of all, he's got a lot of great ways to control with the Mortar and of course the Tornado, and also recognizing what game he's playing. I like this. We're seeing Earthquake cycled from both guys early on.
Well, one of the nice things for Michi and a rough thing for JP is it makes the bomb tower of JP kind of negligible at this point, right? It's not a very important card in this matchup anymore. So it kind of forces JP to be playing a 3-card hand, and that bomb tower is going to take up a lot of real estate for cycle purposes.
Exactly, Rich. Exactly. So when that bomb tower does ever come down, it's going to be a desperation move, either where IMJP doesn't have other great responses in, or Michifu sends something his way that has to be dealt with the defensive building, and then it creates opening for that Earthquake. And that deck cycles insanely fast. I mean, both of them do, but you talk about that bomb tower and its kind of lack of defensive capability.
And you see the Mortar come out high because the EQ is already cycled, and JP 1,000% ready for it with the Archers. That was a nice sequence there for the golden-haired golden boy from Barcelona, Spain.
Right there, Earthquakes on both sides of the board, but as double and triple elixirs start to come in, you'll think that Michifu would be able to get offensive mortars down as well. And then also, I'm curious to see when we start seeing those tornadoes and firecrackers come together, or if we'll see that at all.
So NATO here on defense. Notice Michi is not using that mortar very sparingly, using the mortar for hog defense at this stage. Probably will use it in this case, though, with NATO out of cycle.
Yeah, really, really nice, fast cycle there from IMJP, making it difficult for Michifu to get that mortar on offense because that cycle came around so quickly. Earthquake back down, Earthquake in response.
And that does force the Knight out just a little bit earlier than JP might have wanted. At the moment, final 2 minutes, we're in sudden death, and the damage lead, ever so slight, of course, that log will change it, and this should come down to a foot race, Andrew.
Earthquakes and logs in both directions. Not sure where to play their most valuable win conditions in the Hog Rider or the Mortar, so it's just become this mental game at the bridge of spell cycling.
The log does not get to those Spear Goblins. Now Mortar high, 299 remaining. EQ in the opposite direction. Mortar does not get a shot. Is that Hog Rider going to do it? No, NATO does pull it away. We are neck in neck, Andrew.
Yeah, 299 down. Earthquake is in. You got to imagine the log's going to come down for Michifu. Then a tornado should end things. Where's the tornado? 23 HP. Where is it? Where is it?
Oh man. Wow. And JP, you see, just has to smile at that one. Knew it was going to be hard to beat that thing out at the end. Michifu with the fist bump, keeping Cream Royale Betis alive for one more set.
Michifu had great matchups in Game 1 and in Game 3. You talk about Expo, and then you talk about Mortar triple spell. IMJP's bomb tower, Rich, you said it perfectly early on. Completely useless. So what does he have to do? He has to find inventive ways to get damage on tower, which means a lot of Earthquake and log cycling and hoping that you can sneak that Hog Rider in. Michifu did not allow that to happen.
Yeah, and that was the big thing, hoping you get those connections. And Michi certainly made it interesting, made it compelling, made it dangerous there in a few moments, but in the end able to hold on. And really, the creative work with the Mortar, I think, was a big part of this.
Yeah, and this is also where you see kind of the men separated from the boys. You see both of these guys so early on. Look, Mortar is the 8th card out from Michifu. Hog Rider is the 6th card out from IMJP. They recognize instantaneously what this game is going to be all about, and you saw it right there. Earthquake battles and battles at the bridge.
You know, for JP, I think one of the things, and we've seen it in two highlights in a row here, Andrew, JP was not getting that log onto the Spear Goblins. 2 logs that touched the Knight and didn't touch Spear Goblins. And, you know, of course, that NATO had to come out there to save things, but that feels like it was the story of the match.
Totally. And we saw numerous times where he was looking for him. He wanted the chip damage and hoped to get a Spear Goblin as well, but it's just not going to happen when your opponent is recognizing you going for it every single time. The most he's going to allow you to get is either the chip damage on the tower or 1 Spear Goblin at most. So really, really great stuff there for Michifu. Keeps Cream alive, but look at the left-hand side of your screen. It's all blue at the top. Now it's starting to turn red. That means we need to see a reverse sweep from Cream, starting with taking down Ruben in a 1v1 set.
Yeah, and of course we have to imagine that they're not doubling up on Pedro. Going to be St. Bellican here. And, you know, if we talk about just pure skill of micro, you can't really compare anybody with Ruben at this stage, except maybe if Queso does make it to World Finals and we get a chance to see Mugi versus Ruben at some point. That's very few people in that echelon.
Yeah.
But when you talk about game planning, matchups, mind games, there's not a lot of people who are in the same echelon as St. Bellic.
100%. Do you have Belly on your Fantasy Royale lineup, or do you have Ruben? You probably have one or the other. Remember, 250,000 gold, 100 gems. I actually decided to go with Team Queso's Ruben, even though I expected Cream to win. I know it doesn't really make a lot of sense because you think about your lineups tomorrow, but that's how much faith I have in Ruben's head-to-head play, and I knew Team Queso was going to lean on him. So lean on him once again, Rich. I'm imagining you're right. I think it's going to be Ruben, and I think it's going to be St. Bellican. Let's go to the boards and see what they're going to be bringing at us. Ruben's requesting, so we're at least halfway there.
You know, I'm laughing kind of because I have RF on my fantasy team, which got some good points today. I have both Michifu and Ruben, which has turned out pretty well. But I have one player from last week because I checked 1 minute too late to change my lineups. And so I have one player who's not in playoffs. So I'm hoping against hope that either Ruben or Michi can have a great one today and then go on tomorrow and keep dominating.
So here we go. Bellican out for the first time today in playoffs. Top of your screen. Bottom of your screen, Ruben changing things up, going Magic Archer.
Wall breakers to the left-hand side, high bomb tower, and we'll control that fairly easy and take care of the Magic Archer as well.
Yeah, so Bellican right now feeling probably a little bit okay about his matchup, but it's going to be about what he can get done in a single elixir, make sure that not too much gets done to him.
So you have bomb tower, you have 2 spells for this balloon cycle deck, and a nice little bit of Magic Archer value there. Out of Ruben, and will protect on top of it.
Yeah, really, really nice. You see the Knight coming down in protection. Then Wallbreaker is going to go opposite lane because of the overspend with the archers, but a snowball comes out in time. Really nice from Bellican there. Should get an archer shot. One? Nope, not at all.
2109 left-hand side to 1931 on Bellican's tower. We'll see how long it takes him to get to those balloons. I'll be curious to see how Ruben chooses to deal with the balloon pushes as they come in.
Yeah, Ruben's going to need to do a good job of getting as many Magic Archers on the board as he can because he doesn't have to worry about big spells coming out from Bellican. So Magic Archers need to be on the board, and then you've got to get as much as you can out of those Spear Goblins, and then, of course, not give spell value to that Snowball. You can't let that Snowball hit your Spear Goblins and your Magic Archer.
Wall breakers opposite direction. Bomb tower will take care of it.
And again, this Magic Archer is really going to add to these bomb towers becoming less and less effective going on. So that's the key to victory for Ruben, and I'm sure Bellican has already recognized that.
Yeah, the nice thing for Bellican is he has 2 great ways to deal with those Spear Goblins, and one of them can also save him against those Wall Breakers often. And then at some point we might see miners start going to those Magic Archers when the balloon pushes start to pull in.
Yeah.
So options for Belly, the question is, can he make them work?
Yeah, and right now, really showcasing those options. You see the log coming in, getting chip damage on the left-hand side, Snowball going down on the right, and Belly's still trying to catch back up.
And reticent to go miner to that Magic Archer for the moment is Bellican, knowing how often something will be there to protect, whether it be the Knight or occasionally Spear Goblins. So we'll see if at some point Bellican gets good timing on that one, and the NATO activation does come in on the King Tower. That's going to make things much harder for the miner here in game.
Yeah, that tornado really, really ruins stuff for Bellican as well. If we're talking about both these guys here, that tornado is that last layer of defense. So now you got the bomb tower, you got the Spear Goblins, and the tornado to make sure it is very, very difficult for this balloon to connect.
Miner going in for Ruben. Bomb tower to work on the wall breakers and help get that miner down. And of course the Magic Archer will not have geometry on this one. Setting up one more time is Belly. Magic Archer is DPSing down these balloons maybe a bit faster than the Brit would expect.
Yeah, Bellican is just really having a difficult time getting on offense here, and you see the miner going to go to the tower, going to get picked up by that Knight. Magic Archer untouched. Wallbreaker's back in, and Ruben is back around to another Magic Archer if he so pleases to play it.
Oh, and that just barely didn't connect huge. Look at that. That Mega Minion was trying to predict a Magic Archer so it wouldn't get onto the Knight there and get geometry to finish this thing off. Miner this time not going to go to Magic Archer again. You see the protection comes out from the Knight. That's why.
Yep.
Miner in with that balloon. Magic Archer still alive and on the board. Gonna need a little bit more of attention spent on those Magic Archers if he wants the balloon to connect. The problem is Ruben is doing such a great job of creating offensive pressure. Knight does not connect.
Just barely, but now 2 Magic Archers on the board. Miner comes in. Archer's not going to pick those ones up. Wall Breaker's trying to come in and finish things. 165 remains. It feels like it's this balloon or bust, Andrew.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be bust, Rich. Balloon already mostly dealt with. Magic Archer still on the board. Miner back behind. Log in. Miner on the tower. Belican is going to drop game number 1 to Ruben, the master of micro.
Yeah, I don't love the... I understand why you go with this deck choice, Andrew. You have a lot of defensive capability, and of course the offensive firepower is brilliant, but I don't think you're going to out-micro Ruben. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, because that's exactly what he has to do, right? He needs to out-micro Ruben, not by just getting the miners to the tower, but what needed to happen as the game progressed was more of what you were talking about, of really, really putting these offenses together that allowed your balloon to maybe get tanked for by the Knight, and then allowed the Mega Minion to be there to help with the DPS, and then maybe sending that miner on top of the Magic Archer, since there was no way to deal with those Magic Archers.
You see here, Archers don't pick up the Miner, so good variance and Miner placement out of Ruben. What he never varied was that Magic Archer placement. That Magic Archer went to the same spot every single time, and it was just so frightening for Belly to try to put the Miner on there, because you put a Miner there and the Knight picks it up, and that is a huge swing in Ruben's direction.
Yeah, what's fascinating about what you're saying there, Rich, is Ruben really did play his Magic Archer essentially in 2 spots for most of that game. One was offset to the left in the center, and the other one was up high at the bridge looking for that piercing shot. And, you know, just those 2 spots got in Belican's head. Ruben was living there rent-free. You know, you called out that very high Mega Minion because it was one or the other, right? Which spot is Ruben going to go to? It was just kind of a catch-22, or pick your poison for Belly.
So here we go. Team Queso again with match point, but now this time you're asking St. Belican to do a reverse sweep on Ruben. Very, very difficult chances. You know, Belly's had a big deck pool this season, right? He's played, I think, like 13 or 15 completely different decks, completely different ideas over the course of this season. What do you do if you're Belly in this situation? Do you go for something big and aim for matchup?
It's really tough. It really, really is tough, right? Because honestly, if I'm Ruben, I might just run that deck back again. You think about all the things that Belican is best at. That Magic Archer piercing shot really hurts clone. The Tornado really helps control the game. You think about the Bomb Tower plus the Tornado plus the Log to keep things like the Royal Giant at bay. And then, like you said, you're not going to out-micro Ruben, so why doesn't Ruben just go back to that game? He's got a game in hand. I think you go right back to this deck if you're Ruben, and then, honestly, I think it matches up against pretty much anything that Belly can throw at him.
And you make a great point there, Andrew, as we jump into game number 2, is that Belly has to be nervous about running clone now after seeing what Ruben just played.
Yeah, and so we see Ruben now going with the Heal Spirit, now letting Belican know that whatever you were strategizing against, it's not going to be what you just saw.
So feeling like it might be Royal Giant for Ruben in game number 2. Belican looking like it's going to be most likely Graveyard.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Very, very high defensive capability, a lot of map control, but I don't know. It's Ruben, and it feels like it's going to be hard for you to win these bridge battles.
Well, that's one way to do it. Nado back and take care of the Heal Spirit plus. Belly decides not to get over-aggressive in this one.
Yeah, good decision there. As you can see, they're pretty much even in Elixir. He's going to have maybe a Bar Barrel out right now to deal with. Nope, he's going to go with Knight instead. Doesn't have that Tornado in hand to activate King.
First minute, 10 seconds away, and Ruben does have the lead. Reminder, if Ruben wins this one, Team Queso goes through the next round and has a guaranteed berth into World Finals this December in Shanghai.
Yep, they'll be joining Pain Gaming, SK Gaming, and of course Tribe as well. It's all about who's going to get that lucky 4th spot between these two.
E-Wiz down low. We'll take care of both of those easily. A little sip of water there for Belly.
Knight up high again, now maybe caught back in cycle. If that Royal Giant or Royal Ghost does come down, he'd be able to activate King, but I can't imagine Ruben is going to give him that easy of an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, he might activate King, but also it's Royal Giant, so you're not super concerned about that King Tower activation.
Exactly.
It's one of those things where you're almost happy to make him spend that 3 elixir so you can then press that advantage, potentially double down in the same lane or go opposite.
Yeah, the big thing for Belly getting that King Tower activation is going to be really helping deal with the Royal Ghosts. The Royal Ghosts really muck things up on the defensive side for Belican. You know, we saw before when IMJP made all those units come into a perfect fireball value. So here we go. Ruben getting very aggressive both sides of the board.
Oh, bye-bye to your Ice Wiz. Knight has to come out to deal with one Royal Ghost, but a second one right behind it. NATO trying to hold things back a little bit, but there is so much on the board for Ruben, and this could be it. Good game on both sides. Guys, we have our 4th and final World Championship team out of the West. Team Queso is going to Shanghai, China.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you expect out of Ruben. He comes out in the first 1v1 set and the third 1v1 set. If you've got Michael Jordan on your squad, you want him to take that game-winning shot. Ruben does it once again.
Man, what a brilliant performance by Ruben today. 4-1. What else do you expect from a guy who is, without question, the MVP of the CRL season?
Yeah, I mean, Ruben has really done it. The only reason that we are so easily able to give Ruben that MVP is because you look at SK Gaming, you look at Javi as another one of the guys out there in head-to-head play that's been basically unstoppable, but he has everyone else on his squad in Morton, Sam, and Sergio that have done so much for him. Ruben has had to come out in 1v1 sets now with those two 7 times this season, Rich. 7 times, and he's lost once.
And at a 78% win rate on the season, Andrew. 28-8 in games, 7-1 in sets, 2 King of the Hill sweeps. Just an unbelievable lift by a guy who knew that who felt like this was his.
And you know what? This was a full team effort. Yes, IMJP loses that 1v1 set, but he played pretty dang well in that 1v1 set with some pretty rough matchups. Coochie and Benny picking up that 2v2 is what you really want to focus on if you're Team Queso. Double down on those guys, spend more attention, spend more energy, spend more money, whatever you need to do to get Benny and Coochie to play like that in playoffs and at World Finals, and you've got a lot of promise with Ruben and IMJP in head-to-head play.
Well, you look at this, right? If this doesn't play out the way, if Michifu and Diego E win that 2v2 and everything else goes the same way, we're in King of the Hill.
Right.
And it felt like, it almost felt like these 1v1s were to a certain set almost predetermined. Like Ruben was going to win both of his, and Michifu had an advantage over JP. Yep. Right? So it all comes back down to that 2v2, and King of the Hill, as we know, can go any which way. But in the end, Coochie and Benny come through on the most important day of the season. Team Queso making their 2nd trip to CRL World Finals.
Yeah, it's been a few years that they took off, and now we have them back at World Finals with Tribe, Pain, and SK Gaming. Those are the 4 from the West that will be in Shanghai on December 5th and 6th. Battling it out for that World Championship. But first, we got a lot of money to give away here in the West. $225,000 going to be split amongst our top teams. We've now got our 5th and 6th squads, Rich. It's all about 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, yeah, and that hardware as well, Andrew. You know the SK Gaming wants to add another Western Championship to their trophy case. You know that Tribe Gaming feels like they have a ton to live up to, and you know that Pain and Queso right now are playing with house money, so they are dangerous in these matchups.
Well, now I'm so excited because it feels like on the right-hand side of the board, I mean, all of these teams are absolutely nuts, but on the right-hand side of the board, you've got incredible back-and-forth head-to-head play. 2v2 should go to Tribe, but what Team Queso can do in head-to-head, nobody knows. SK Gaming and Pain, though, this is it. This is the 2v2 matchup we have all dreamed about. You're going to get Sam, Morton, Lucas, Wallace for an incredible 2v2 set.
And you have Lucas, you have this Pain Gaming squad that just did the most important thing. Talk about nerves. This is what Pain did today when the nerves were with them. Of course, it's so hard to prep for 2 matches in one weekend. It's exceptionally difficult. But now Pain gets to go in tomorrow absolutely loose with no real pressure on. it's the world's their oyster right now. All they have to do is beat SK Gaming, and they have a shot at a Western Championship.
And so there you can see our rankings or our standings as we came into playoffs. Our 5th place squad going up against number 1. Truly the Cinderella story that they've been all season. On the other side of it, 2 very, very celebrated teams in Tribe, who has not yet made it to those World Finals, and then Team Queso, who is now making their 2nd appearance. Can Tribe lock it down in playoffs as they struggled to do in the spring?
Yeah, I mean, they were so close in the spring, Andrew. The 5-set reverse sweep by Spacestation Gaming. Yeah. And now Tribe is going to be in a situation where they probably feel like they will take the early lead again. But we see how dangerous Ruben can be when you put Queso's back to the wall. So be curious to see if Tribe can avoid having that happen 2 times in a row. On the other side of things, SK Gaming, fresh, rested, plenty of time to prepare for Pain. You have to imagine that Pain's just going back into the laboratory right now, figuring out, is there a way for us to get past the best team in the game?
Yeah, and that's the one other thing with SK Gaming is there's so many squads, even with Tribe, you go, all right, TNT, Jupiter, Buffmac, no problem. Space Station Gaming, Lapo, RF, Samuel. The thing with SK is you can have this guy and Javi come out twice, or you can just go Morton, Sam, Javi. You can go Sam, Sergio, Javi. The possibilities are endless when it gets into gaming that 1v1, those 3 sets back to back. That's one more reason why SK is the number 1 team, is it doesn't have to rely on their 1v1 stunner for 2 sets, but they can.
Yeah, I think tomorrow that's going to all come down for Pain Gaming to that 2v2. Of course, we thought that same thing today. Yeah. That wasn't the story. I do think, though, that maybe SK Gaming playing, again, having already qualified, being very confident, and playing against a team that's already prepped, they're going to have a pretty solid advantage. On the other side of things, Tribe versus Queso, it's the same question one more time. How much can you get? How many times can you have Ruben win in a row?
So guys, make sure those notifications are turned on. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow over on Twitch. These were incredible matches, and there's only 2 of them. You don't want to miss a set. We'll be back at the exact same time tomorrow. And how did you do with Fantasy Royale? I'm telling you right now, I got Ruben on my squad. I got RF on my squad. I'm feeling pretty good so far. Those guys did a lot of work today. But tomorrow, it's going to be all about who from those squads in SK and Tribe, if you picked one of them, how far can they really go in those few sets?
So, Andrew, we have a tough question on our hands at the moment, and that's the MVP for the day, right? On one side, you go with Wallace coming out and clutching up the King of the Hill. That's who I would nominate for Pain. You might have a different story. Or on the other side, you come out with Ruben, who came out and put together 2 1v1 set wins, but with that cushion of Kuchiku and Benny, who winning the 2v2.
I got to go Wallace. I really do. I love what Ruben did today, and obviously he played pretty dang perfect. But Wallace, with the pressure, with that 2v2 set, with the bounce back, and coming into King of the Hill and going 1-2-3 against RF, Lapo, and Samuel, give that man his MVP for the day.
Yeah, it was absolutely huge. So big congratulations to the squad of rookies, Pain Gaming, going to the World Finals after a very, very difficult road. Same congratulations to Team Queso, who faced some adversity, struggled here and there, and now will make it all the way to the second time for that squad. Andrew, if you have to pick tomorrow, who do you got? SK versus Pain, Tribe versus Queso.
Oh my goodness. You put me on the spot. I'm going SK, and I'm going Team Queso.
That's a good call. I'm Rich Slayton. That's Andrew Guy. You'll get my picks tomorrow right back here for more CRL West.